time it connected. So they put another bridge in there on the YouTube side. So it looks like it's going live. It's spinning up.
Yeah, I see it listed. Oh, I see us.
There it is.
I'm gonna hop off briefly. I'll probably be back later.
Okay, everyone, sorry, my apologies. I had a technical difficulty where Zoom, the way it connected to YouTube changed, and I was struggling with it. I was having trouble getting the connection to bridge from Zoom to YouTube. So here we are. Yay, Alonzo Party. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you all here. And how long? What, 8 minutes? 8 minutes now?
7.
7 minutes. All right, I got Daedalus up over here. I'll screen share that when we get there. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And, yeah, it's working. We're live. Yay. I'll tweet this link out. All right. So right after we go live, I'm going to check Pool Tools. I'm going to check Pool Tools, network synchronization. We'll see how far that dips down. We're going to see if there's fireworks or maybe a big star will pop and say, "You did it" on Daedalus. I don't know. You did it. Okay, so it is live. Kyle, can I get a "your did it" for actually getting this live stream connected before the fork? Can I have a space, please?
Your did it, bro.
Yay!
Yay! Yay!
We did it together.
I'm glad my crappy internet connection's holding up.
All right. So maybe someone can tell us, Papa Carp, how does it work whenever? So we have the main blockchain connecting all the nodes, and then there's a thing called DB Sync, and Pool Tools looking at DB Sync, right? Is that how it works?
Yep. Still looking at DB Sync.
Tell us a little bit about DB Sync and what's the difference between DB Sync and the rest of the network, and kind of get us up and in here so we know what we're looking at.
So if the network is the dog, DB Sync is the tail at the end of it, right? And so it just follows the dog wherever the dog goes. But it's usually a little bit late to get it done. So they just have upgraded DB Sync. I think a lot of us have upgraded it the last couple of days. And, it's getting better every time. Like it used to be the rewards processing took forever, but hopefully it'll be faster this time. We've had some rollback issues with the latest version, but in general, the upgrade went really smooth for Pool Tool anyway. Did that yesterday. Awesome. And, the other cool thing that it has in there now, which I haven't integrated, but it also, you can easily pull out kind of which version of the nodes are making all the blocks. So that's something AdaPools is doing now, is showing which version of the nodes making them. So anyway, but that's all independent. I always watch, I don't really pay attention to DB Sync during these transitions. So I just watch the health page on Pool Tool because that's all live data coming in from all the different nodes out there. So that's where we'll see the blocks come in first for the Alonzo, when we transition over. And we'll see if there's a big network synchronization problem. I mean, I can't remember which transition it was, but we started to get a lot of rewards, coming out of the node. And a whole bunch of us kind of were going offline for 5 or 10 minutes at a time right after the transition. You guys remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first one, the network was unstable for like 20 minutes, but it dipped down to 60%. I'm guessing this time around it's not going to dip down to 60%. And it's not going to be unstable for 20 minutes. Yep. I'm guessing it's going to be less.
It should be normal pretty much. Yeah. Okay. Wouldn't expect much. I mean, I've been watching these transitions on the test net and they were fine. So I'm really not expecting any fireworks.
Yeah, but the test net, we were running really low resources though too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Charles live right now.
There he is. There's Egon.
The
guy who's done fucking around. So that answer your question there, Rick?
Absolutely, sir. Okay. Thank you very much.
You betcha.
I'll be looking at that in a bit. I'm looking at network health. I'm going to go check chain density right now. It's over there. I got to go. It's a totally different system. I'll be right back.
Yep. 4 more minutes.
Oh, I'm going to do a token drop real soon, guys.
Whoever said 4 more minutes, you had you definitely had the voice of the guy in Mission Control. You should probably do the countdown.
Okay, chain density 5.1.
I'll take care of that.
There it is. Network.
Was that for the Doja tokens?
Yeah.
Trying to get me some of those Doja tokens, man.
Yeah, well, anybody, man, anybody, if you're staking to a pool or you've been staking since Epoch 210, since mainnet, you can go in and just withdraw. So that's how it's going to be in every
That's
epoch.
gonna be awesome.
And then I'm going to add more features and we'll have utility. It's going to be dope. Yeah, I'll have utility right away. So that whole part, the token drop part's done. I just need to get it into Alonzo and make sure it works. But what I'm doing right now, and I'm almost wrapped up with, I'll go into test. I just got to bang some stuff out, is basically setting it up so you can tie a payment address and receive a payment of an asset, whether it be Cardano or the Doja token or even space coins, and use that to trigger an IoT action that's custom. So you could send space coins to water your mom's plant, right? Or just weird stuff. You know, it's just a way to create economic opportunity. And then we'll tie in the profiles where you can actually subscribe to other people's profiles and things like that. But yeah, you know, it's just weird stuff, but basically trigger payments and monetize it. So it'll be cool.
That's awesome.
It'll be interesting. It'll be fun to like do demos. Yeah, and I've got incentives sprinkled in there and whatnot, but it's a whole lot of work to get it all together cohesive. So let's get in a little Alonzo and get this stress off, because I got 28 nodes too I'm bringing over. So it's like, you know, there's timing and all that stuff.
Yep. Well, cool, man. That's awesome.
We're almost there. Somebody's sharing the network health. We got a few more minutes.
Yeah.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Network
So is
health looking
Child
good.
wearing a Ghostbusters suit because they're all saying Cardano is a ghost chain?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's got the gloves and everything.
Yeah, he has the money to actually buy the real outfit.
Yeah.
You see he's got the pack back there behind him too.
No, he's got the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, y'all got
This is riveting.
y'all got your drinks ready. I got mine right here. Okay, I got a special champagne.
Each maxi tiers. Yes.
Special champagne right there. All right, we're gonna have a countdown in 10 seconds. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Come on, Pritesh. 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Woo!
Hey!
Yeah.
Woo! Alonzo!
Yes.
Oh, look
Lift
at that.
off.
Okay.
Yeah,
Stars going.
I'm going to ping my block tips. And what I'm looking for is the era to switch over and blocks to start incrementing. So y'all can look at Pool Tool. I'm going to watch on my end. And I am chilling on block, 6,236,059 in the Mary era.
Nice. Okay, I'm seeing 59 here. I'll check local, and I'm cracking open the I'm cracking it open, baby. Right,
my relays are just kicking it.
No, you're
just
cracking it open.
Yeah, I can see mine from across the room. I'll come back to this screen share in a bit. Let me bring that screen share down.
Still waiting.
Yeah, I can see the relays are spun up a little bit.
Mine takes a little time, right?
Well, yeah, not too much. They're just kind of thinking, I guess.
Yep.
Got a lot of sophisticated graphs up on the mainstream that I don't know how to interpret.
Buy more ADA. That's how you interpret it.
Oh, that's
Not a bad time.
I certainly hope that's the sentiment.
Network transactions will pick up. It's already really high. We're hitting 100,000 transactions a day lately, weren't we?
Yeah, it looked like it to me.
I think with the NFT boom, it was inevitable.
Yeah.
Space coins.
Yeah.
Space coins.
Well, what I do is when I go to check health, I'll look at the mempool and I'll see it counting up, right?
Sure.
And then I'll wait for a block to increment, and I'll say, okay, it's getting blocks, it's synchronized. I don't compare it to Pool Tool. Pool Tool's still on 6,236,059 is the highest reported block.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's kind of a pause there. I don't see an update on the network synchronization for the reporting nodes.
Yeah.
I am seeing 87% nodes were upgraded prior to the turn of the epoch. So I'll just go over this graph real quick.
Is that considered good?
It's good enough.
I think it's considered a reference.
It's good enough.
All right.
I think it's good enough.
Right.
It depends on how much stake is on.
Because some pools are dead pools too, right? So.
Yeah. And do we have an estimate on that?
Yeah, I haven't pulled that exact data, but I did pull this morning how much stake is reporting, and it's 5 billion ADAs is reporting into Pool Tool. And so we have version control on a quarter of the network. I don't know. And then another quarter of the network is all of the big exchanges. So that's half the network.
Right.
Is basically upgraded to 90%.
Okay. So Mike, is that height on Pool Tool, is that based on your relays, or is that a consensus based on like the majority of reporting tips?
So it's the majority. The one on the right, the green one, is the majority of the reporting one, and then the one that's in white on blue is the DB sync stuff and everything else. So the white on blue one will take a while to catch up. It's got to go through all the rewards and stuff, but the one on the right means that the nodes are basically stuck there at 5.9, and we're showing prop delays on the previous block. That's how it works. So we're showing 58 prop delays right now. We're still waiting for everything to come in for 59. So yeah, everyone's just waiting.
Is there a way to nudge the non-compliant people? I mean, other than the fact that they're not making money?
Well, I mean,
that should be enough incentive for people to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if they're not making money, that's one thing. But when they start to screw with our game, that's a whole nother thing.
I don't know how set it and forget it is for a lot of stake pool people. So I was just curious.
It'll be interesting to see the amount of blocks minted. I assume the blocks would increase for everybody that upgraded, right? I mean,
the percentage of blocks would increase.
Percentage of blocks, yeah.
I mean,
well, that's before, only if
it hasn't been a big
stake
issue.
migrated.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
But they won't. Anyone who didn't upgrade won't be able to chain any blocks anyway, right?
Well, yeah, but it's not going to really affect our intake. It will over time as the stake degrades. But a lot of users are set and forget too. I mean, there's still users. There's millions and millions of ADA staked to dead pools.
Yep.
That's wild, man.
I just want Martin to know his was the first pool that I went to.
All right, now my relays are working.
Yeah,
now
mine are too.
We're
So
working.
we're maxing out the CPU here.
Yeah, my relays are
right.
low on CPU, but my block producers, running pretty high.
Oh, everything's running high on mine.
Mine spun up too.
I got stupid with these servers and just did 32 gigs on all of them. Just
wow.
Why not?
Frog's kicking
Going to town.
Holy cow! I got 24 gigs on each one and 60.
Frog 2 working
here, but the cloud one's
my block producers are using a lot of CPU as well.
yeah, that's what I was noticing.
All mine are gone.
Charles is like,
I think it's intermittent. Mine are bouncing between. My relays are pretty consistent though.
I'm showing on one of my on my block producer. I'm showing Alonzo Era with a sync progress of 100%.
Okay. I'm in Alonzo. We're there. We got a block. Woo, let's go.
Nice. Yeah, we got a block. We got a block. One of my relays just registered block.
Hard fork, baby.
Bunch of ballers over here.
Yeah. You ain't got to sweat it. You just got to ride. It's just like getting on and.
I've got 19 hours to go.
You're seeing the first Alonzo block was made.
I'm gonna make sure everything came over.
Oh.
I'm gonna go check mine. I can't see.
I can say I got my cash. I just checked, so they upgraded.
Yeah, one block.
Majority max is still 59 though, so we're waiting for everyone else to catch up.
Hold on, wait. And Snuff, was that a joke or is there something I don't know? If you didn't upgrade, would your delegators not get rewarded for that last?
No, I'm sure they would.
Oh, okay. I was
forgive me. I'm the least technically qualified person to speak here. Don't take anything I say seriously.
You're the guy with no pool.
Yeah,
you're awesome, man.
Yeah, no.
We're moving.
You're great.
We're moving.
I see it going.
Yeah.
It's going.
Yep.
We got 4 blocks.
moving.
Alonzo.
Yep.
4 blocks.
Wow.
Sync.
60% sync. Wow.
Hey, does anyone remember? I'll go to Pool Tool in a minute. On Cardano scan, how do I look up the smart contract datums? Isn't there somewhere where I can see a datum?
You looking for the first one to come in?
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah. Because we did this live stream when native assets went up.
Right.
And by the time we finished the live stream, there was like 100 native assets. Now, of course, that's not going to happen with smart contracts. So people got to manage expectations. You're not going to see 100 smart contracts deploy in the next couple of days. You'll see a couple come up. It takes time. It's like, okay, when they built the internet, there wasn't like 10,000 websites. You know?
Yeah. The internet's live. Where are all the websites?
That's going to be the gripe, Rick. They're going to be like, it's still a ghost chain. They unlocked smart contracts, and there's no, huge things built on them in 2 days.
My 8 gig node just choked, so my little hacks to try to get the 8 gig nodes to survive is not surviving. So
a worthy experiment.
What's that?
He said 8 gig node.
Yeah,
8 gig.
Yeah, just like just a node with 8 gigs of RAM, which is not enough. But I was just going to see how long it could last, and it died.
8 gigs of RAM and a hard drive with spinning platters, right?
Well, it's got SSD.
Who needs an SSD?
All right, so guys, we did drop to 60% sync on the epoch switch.
Okay, I mean, my nodes are showing that they were really working really hard a couple of minutes ago. Now they're back down to normal.
Where are we at now, Mike?
It's climbing out. I'm guessing it's just about recovered by now, but at least reporting wise, we're at about 70% now.
So it's just an initial surge, just turning the thing on.
Yeah.
Mine nodes are fine as well. I think most there have good nodes.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
all
sure
good.
they were expecting that,
56% is where it dropped down. But the good thing is the network didn't freeze for 15 or 20 minutes. The network, it did its normal transition.
Right.
4 or 5 minutes of grinding.
Would you have noticed it by now?
Yeah, there wouldn't be any blocks.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd take a while to get transition.
Now we have 11.
Yeah,
blocks.
we're good.
We're good.
Yeah, once we start chugging again, it's and the sync starts coming up. It's
Charles looks like Captain Kirk.
That's really what you're worried about.
Yeah, they're
Does he?
Just a little bit, you know what I mean, with all the grass.
Happy.
Charles is Ghostbuster.
Yeah, he's the Ghostbuster. Yeah. All right.
I'll pop in later.
They're just.
Well, that's it. We got smart contracts.
Yeah.
We made it.
Yay, you're
It seems like a pretty smooth transition for such a major update from a layman's perspective.
Oh, hey, Martin.
That's what I love. It's the anticlimax.
Yeah.
Hey, brother.
How's the memory usage on your relays? I have one with around 10.5 gigs. The rest is at 9 gigs and block producers around 8.
Yeah, I've got 10 gigs on one of mine.
Yep, 9 gigs on my relays.
There was this big fear that we explode now in RAM usage. 12
Yeah.
or 16 gigs.
Well, who knows? I mean, we got to wait for the next few days, right?
Yeah.
Martin, you look like you're in a spaceship.
Oh, my living room.
That's the bridge of the Enterprise, isn't it?
I think so.
Somebody had the Enterprise.
Brandon?
Yeah, I'm in engineering.
Okay. Yeah, so interesting about network sync is that in order for us to have unsynced nodes, we have to have at least one came in that was synced, like a majority of them were synced. So a lot of the nodes did stay on track, probably a lot of the ours because we're heavily, we have plenty of memory and plenty of CPU, but yeah, this 50 or 60 or 70% we're at right now, those guys are still not caught up. Those nodes are still really slow. So If anyone is listening to this has a node and it still hasn't caught up, you need to upgrade your servers so you can keep up with this.
Did they send out that expectation?
Yeah, I mean, they required, they set expectations about how much more memory we require. But a lot of these guys, I think, are still running at the bare minimum. And
the old Raspberry Pi
until they absolutely have to.
Some are running on some dinky stuff.
I knew Martin's wasn't going to be a Raspberry Pi, so he was my first stake pool. That's why I went there.
Good choice.
I mean, nothing wrong with Raspberry Pis, but it's,
I know.
clearly now more demand for higher throughput than that. Yeah.
This is why I just went straight to 32 gig. I was just figured next week I'll learn something new that tells me I have to upgrade anyway. So
why shut down again?
Right.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about this Haskell code nodes. They just run and run and run. I've never had to restart a node because it was having a heart attack. You know what I mean? They just run indefinitely. Brandon, I think there's someone talking on
your if you're getting that, I mean, we might as well have some food around for dinner.
Dinner time, Brandon. Hey, Mike, I'm going to share this screen, and Brandon will get caught up in a sec. Tell us what's going on here. Brandon, go ahead and mute. Hold on, maybe I can mute.
Mute him. Well, this is what I've been watching the whole time, Rick. I mean, this is our normal transition flow. And again.
4:00. They have to be there at like 6.
I don't know, Brandon. I think you should have dinner. Just eat.
How does this compare with the Shelley epoch? Where we are around 70% at that time?
It almost, we should go look at that video, but we were just talking about like 60% was the worst we'd seen. So we kind of, this was not an easy transition, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that, so again, to kind of go over this, prop delays on the left-hand side, what we're aiming for is everyone to prop delay in under a second. If you can get your block to the next producer in under a second, then theoretically every block should be capable of being made. Because we technically could have a block every second on the network. On average, it's every 20 seconds, but there's a lot of back-to-back blocks. So if you don't get your block to the next producer by the time they make it on the next one of those blocks is going to get dropped and network density will fall down. So we like to see the prop delays under a second. That middle one is showing all green. That means those are all under a second. So that means that pool made that block and all those other pools received that block in under a second. And kind of getting close to a second near the end, but it's okay. But the historical block alignment, that's what we're watching right now. So that again dropped down to 60%. What that means is that, right after the hard fork, a few nodes dug out of that hole really quickly. And once majority max, meaning half the nodes get out of that hole, the chain moves on from a pool to a perspective and everyone else is considered unsynced. They're no longer on the tip of the chain. And so that's what you see is 60% of the nodes ended up unsynced. And it looks like they're kind of staying down there. I mean, they're taking a while to dig out of that hole. And then on the right-hand side, it's kind of, for me, it's hidden behind everyone's images. I'll move that. But you can see that red line. I think Rick calls these the raindrops or something.
Yeah, raindrops.
Yeah. So, there's not that many raindrops usually for us, but this is a lot. And then you see a whole bunch of nodes, that one on the right, that's all those nodes falling behind and basically getting stuck. And that's the delta from majority max. So everyone else is proceeding forward, the chain's continuing on, but a whole bunch of them are just stuck and cannot get out of their hole.
Yeah. And this is what I call, you see these raindrops over here to the left around 5 p.m. I call this normal rain. It's just chilling. It's just kind of hanging out with, these are occasionally like a node relay out of 1,000 probably doesn't affect anything. Or I'm sorry, one relay out of 6,000 or 7,000 relays. It gets stuck and it really doesn't affect anything. But when you start seeing angry rain, when it gets really angry looking like this, okay, now you're having issues. Like over here, it's like that freaking drunk emoji that's like right here, right? This is nodes coming up and going down, and people have restart scripts, and they just need to upgrade their shit. That's all there is to it. I mean, that's just garbage nodes right there. That's what that
ecosystem's having a little body cleanse. A little colonic. It's all right. It's good for the system.
It is. It is.
It's my idiotic, non-technical commentary to this.
Well, sometimes it's useful. So I'll come back to that graph when it starts showing signs of improvement, because right now it's just kind of like.
They must have expected this. This is such a massive update, and there's going to be so much stuff put onto this thing as well.
It's the 8 gigabyte nodes.
I think you're right.
I can tell you that statistically, 87% of people expected it, and that leaves 13% did not expect it.
Right. That's fine analytics, sir.
According to the pool tool, 13% have no idea what's going on right now. Those are pool operators.
That's scary. Yeah. Supposedly.
I mean, as a layman, I just would have assumed that you would have wanted to beef up your hardware for big updates like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go 16 gig nodes for forever now. I mean, I just want to have redundancy anyway. It's like, why?
I have 32 gigs on just my regular personal computers for regular use. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, if you can afford it, why not? Well, actually, if you cannot afford it, you probably shouldn't be running the pools.
Right.
I don't remember who sent out the original tweet that I read that was like, hey guys, this is like using a lot of memory, just heads up. But once I saw that, like, obviously I went to work, but I do feel bad for any SPOs that, were not aware or did not see that.
There was plenty of warning.
I mean, I monitor my pools, all my nodes on Grafana. I know exactly at every second what happens, and I don't feel comfortable if it goes to 80% of RAM usage. I just automatically upgrade it, just move on. It's not much of a cost differential for me, at least, to beef up my servers to make sure that my delegators get paid. And that's what we're, here to do, to make those blocks and make sure that the network is running smoothly.
It's worth an extra stick of RAM.
Yeah, I mean, that's how much are you spending anyway? So extra.
Especially if you went through the trouble of building this. This is obviously making stake pools isn't completely simple, so it's not just 2 seconds.
Do you have an automated Amazon order, UMAT?
Yes, we'll discuss about that later.
32% on my 32 gig nodes. I'm getting worried.
So Rick, one thing you can do is you can go into all the pools and you can sort by the height, and then you go see all the green ones up top. There's like 400 green ones, but then you get down to the red ones after that, and you can kind of see which pools are not synced still.
Okay, so let me pull that up, and you
hey,
be
Mike,
you be my pilot. I'll be the
go into the main.
co-pilot.
Go to the main page. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then sort by height.
Sort by height. Yeah, and then just go down. Just scroll forward. Yeah. Go to 100 per. That'd be great.
It'd be so embarrassing if one of your pools just shows up there.
Yep. So keep going. You got to go about 4 pages forward.
I made my blog already.
Actually, I didn't update my reporting script. Mine.
You got to get to the 300s before you start seeing the red ones.
Yeah, there you go. Now they're so. And then you can you can't sort this at this point, but you can look now at the big pools. Those will be the ones we got to keep an eye on. So.
Okay, so we got high stake in the millions.
Like there's cost D, right? That's 15 million. That seems to have fallen off.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one fell off. This one's
That's 20 million right there. What is it?
Yeah, Crown fell off. Yeah.
Did all the big exchange ones move over? They're
They
such a
should
big
have,
chunk.
but they don't report to me, so I have no way to know.
No, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't.
Sunny, yeah, that's.
Wow.
I mean, some of this might be just reporting into pool tool, something with the transition, but.
Yeah, it could be. I'm a bit surprised some of the names here.
I know. Yeah.
But
that's what's affecting us.
How many are reporting? Do we have? Like,
I don't know if it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
reporting script or
480 are reporting right now.
Ooh, I would hope for more.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Out of how many now?
Well, I mean, there's like 3,000 pools, but
that's what I thought.
I mean, there's not
They're
that
not all
many
active.
that actually have a lot of stake. So
right.
And it's
Hey, Mike.
yeah, Umed.
Yeah. Do you know if the location of the pool affects the propagation times? Something like in Australia might have a lower number or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely should. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the speed of light around the planet, and it's the how many hops you have to go between your nodes. So I think you can easily compensate for location with good relay and internet connectivity, though. So it's not like where on Jormungandr, where we were having to place them approximately because that would help us win slot battles, you know, down to like 1 millisecond difference would help you win a slot battle. So I think, yeah, this is just underpowered nodes, I'm guessing, or like we mentioned, a reporting issue.
Queen has about 35 million, and it's behind.
Yeah. So anyway,
could you also be behind because you know the guy before you you know wasn't on the tip and sent you the wrong you know transaction with the wrong tip? No,
depends on if you got like your max concurrency deadline set right. But no, you don't get it from the guy before you. You get it from all the other peers. So that guy would just do like a vaporized block. You know what I'm saying? If he was off, meant it with the wrong.
If he was your only peer, then that'd be a problem. But
okay,
you have a lot of peers, so
yeah,
you'll have a.
Well, I set
tip.
max concurrency deadline to 3 on my relays, so that basically designates the that you're validating from at least 3 peers, right?
Guy with 56 million.
So just as a layman, when I'm looking at this chart here, network synchronization, you're trying to get it back up to 100% eventually. Is that just for regular users who are watching?
Yeah, and
I'll speak for them.
After 1 hour, we start ignoring them. So if they're behind by an hour, we just say, hey, they're gone, and then we ignore them, and then you'll see that's why we say 355 out of 480 reporting the last hour.
I was curious about that. Okay.
Yeah, what you'll see happen is after an hour from this, that'll drop down to something out of 355 are now 100% synchronized. So you'll see a big pop back up to 100% synchronization.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that all the nodes are synced again. It
Understood.
just means we just start ignoring them. We don't know where you are, so just go away.
All right.
Yeah, I do gotta say, this is the worst I've ever seen. This is like the angriest rain I've ever seen.
Oh wow, yeah.
And fire and brimstone.
Maybe because the RAM is higher now and the garbage collection, like there's also during the epoch change a garbage collection period, and because the RAM is higher now, it could extend the period.
Well, what I did is I'm rebooting them, and I'm back to steady state before the hard fork.
What do you do? Just
I don't know
just reboot them one at a time, so you always have your stuff up, right?
Yep, that's what I'm doing right now too.
Right. I'm just cycling through my relays, and they're fine. They look just like they did prior. They look rough after the epoch change, but now they're okay. So I'll check that out, and we'll monitor to see if that's an epoch thing, or we'll have to see what the rewards calculation looks like now and all that stuff, and just kind of characterize.
I'd be curious to hear IOHK's internal analytics on this, like how successful they think it went. Obviously, they're not going to put out anything that's like, you know, it's a problem.
It worked, man. Yeah, whatever. It worked,
we don't have Cardano Classic. Yeah, right.
So I just heard from one of the guys that was behind that it could be that he didn't upgrade CNCLI to make sure it was ready. So that may be what's going on here too.
Does that make sense? I thought.
Why would CNCLI make?
Well, because CNCLI has to talk to the blocks, right? It uses a block protocol. So and he had to upgrade that when Alonzo came through. So if he didn't upgrade, if you didn't get the new version of CNCLI, it's not going to be able to talk to your node to know what your height's at, or
so it won't be able to report.
Did the percentage of Super Frog big tip increase?
Oh, that's it.
That sounds very technical.
It was 2%.
Hey guys, do me a favor. Check your local chain density if you can. I'm going to go check mine, and then we'll actually know what the chain density is. That's the most important factor, right?
And it's 5%.
5%. Okay, so we're right on target.
We're good.
Let me go check mine, and then I'm going to take down the screen share.
5.026.
Okay.
That just means the pools that matter are upgraded fine. The pools that matter and have a lot of special fine.
Right. The ones that are really producing the majority of the blocks, etc.
Yep. I think
and that's what matters.
And afford the RAM. So.
All RT view is showing 5.1% on all of my relays for chain density.
Yeah.
Or chain density is good to go.
Say that again, Rick. What was that? 5 point what?
RT view is showing 5.1% chain density on all of my relays.
All right.
So we're good. I mean, the chain's good to go. What the reporting might suck right now. It's like it's getting all wonky here, but the actual chain density is good to go.
But we have only 88% of the nodes upgraded. So the maximum should be this 88% within the next minutes, right?
It depends on how much stake those nodes. Like if there's a node that didn't upgrade and it has no stake, then it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I mean, I think the version stuff it's a useful data point to have, but it's not everything. We gotta, it's not everything.
No,
but it's better than anything else we have. So.
Yeah, I only asked about the exchanges because there's such a chunky part.
Yeah,
of,
and I bet IOG worked very closely with all those guys to make sure.
I have to imagine so. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sorry to say, Kyle, but Superfrog Big Tip is still only 2%. I know.
Okay.
Big tip.
Yeah, Big Tip.
Hey man, I was the winner for a while. It was the best.
It's too big.
There was a period. There was a
the
period. That's okay. I can make it bigger. I've been slacking on it.
Okay.
Jeez.
All right, guys. Well, we're digging out. We're almost to 80% now sync, or 75%. So.
Okay, good. Well, congratulations. We have smart contracts. We're going to start to see cool things come, guys. Keep your expectations cool. We build. Things are going to kind of come and get better. Yeah. It's always a little weird and rocky as we start, but the big hump's over. The big thing is we got a whole lot of money in the treasury. So if you guys want to come build something, come to Catalyst. Let's do it. That's what it's all about. We're going to move towards what's next, Voltaire or Basho? When Basho? It's
That's what I've been
Basho,
hearing.
right?
When Basho. That's what I've been hearing.
I think.
When Basho. Let's tweet that.
Well, they're being developed
That's
concurrently.
wild.
Yeah, when Hydra.
Yeah, but
Hydra.
still, like we're just like, okay. Well, we got some more Goguen to kind of roll out.
When 1,000
taps.
taps.
We got to get.
There you go. Let's count them up.
No, when 1 billion users, right? That's what we're after. We're after user.
That's a good one.
We want
one killer app.
It's the DApp wars are going to decide the protocol wars. We need the DApps. I mean, like everyone's like this DeFi. Okay, cool. It happened on Ethereum. It's like, all right, maybe we can enable lower, I guess a lower barrier to entry. People who can afford to lose, a few dollars, whatever. I guess the transaction fees aren't an issue, but there's other shit that's going to bring users in. All I'm saying is it's still the pond, right? We got to build cool stuff and get a whole bunch of users in. And that's what's going to drive it. So y'all build some cool shit.
So, keep your running shoes on because they're going to keep moving the goalposts. There'll always be a when new something. It'll never go away.
I'm not worried about the when next. I'm not worried about anything because I know what I'm looking at. But these Muppets, crypto journalism is the biggest pile of horse shit on planet Earth. Okay?
Facts.
Wow, it's terrible. Tell me how you really
facts.
Yeah.
CoinDesk, you suck. I mean, just that Muppet that tweeted that bullshit the other day. Get rid of that guy.
Eric Wall, what a joke.
He's a
His
goddamn
like
Muppet.
weak ass recovery. He tried to recover from that shit. He's like, if you didn't think that was a joke, then you're never gonna make it. Like,
tried to say
they played it off as a joke.
No, are you serious?
He tried.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm
That's
just trolling.
sad.
Yeah, right.
That's just sad.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Best answer to that criticism is just build.
There's a lot of salt out there, man, and I see a lot of it. I'm just a small little Twitter guy, and boy,
Hey, Salt Pool, can you help with that, man? All that salt out there?
Yeah,
Hook it up.
there you go. It's a little yeah.
Sorry, man. Sorry, Steve-O.
Our blockchain is built on the tears of crying Ethereum maximalists.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to be real upset whenever all that's Cardano is going to run Ethereum better than Ethereum runs Ethereum.
You know, I think they're scared because there's a lot of competing chains that are. It's going to be a death by 1,000 cuts. Even if Cardano's the biggest cut, they're all just sucking value out of that ecosystem.
Or it's building new value, right?
Yes.
Building new value as well. So it's a combination. It's like it might not be as big of a gain for Bitcoin, but it's these other chains. Okay, how hard is it to sell your neighbor on $50,000 Bitcoin or $2 ADA? Is your neighbor going to buy Ethereum bullshit for $3,400? No, they're going to think you're retarded. It's a bunch of country club boys playing with NFTs, having a circle jerk, drinking soy milk.
The inverse, but the inverse of that.
Like it is, bro.
But the inverse of that is people who think ADA is going to go to $100 because they're looking at the unit price. So you have to be a little careful.
Yeah,
ginning people up.
ADA is going to $100. That's what I was promised.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mean
just not today?
You know, with Bitcoin, there's 8 digits after the decimal point.
Just send me 5,000 ADA and I'll send you 20,000 back. Guarantee it. We'll get there together. Who needs pools when you can just send it to me and I'll give you more back?
You have to remember that one Lovelace represents a larger percentage of an ADA than a Satoshi represents Bitcoin.
Won't that be the day though when Lovelaces are measured though? You know what I mean? Kind of like how people look at Satoshis now when they buy a fraction of a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That'll be something.
But stacking sats just sounds cooler than stacking
Lovelaces. It just sounds like a dirty hotel. Yeah.
Stacking love.
Or making.
Have you guys seen my ADA?
That's what I'm doing.
I'm making love. What are you making love with? ADA.
I am making love.
Rick's NFT wife.
I make love every day. Hey, I wake up and there's a 20% chance every day that I make love.
This is a total sausage stream. It's very different than the official IOHK stream.
It's 50-50. Don't you have two hands?
Guys, we all do it.
Mute Kyle. Everyone, it's time to mute.
Not a lady in here.
Yeah, sorry.
We didn't even get out of hand yet.
I mean, I have really long hair. If you want me to,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just Fabio it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we scared them off. Maria was here and she punched out. But it's really late over on her side. She is over on the other side of the planet, over near Eistein's side of the planet. So she had to punch out.
I said to Charles in a tweet, I said my biggest concern was that people are going to have crazy expectations. They're going to expect 1,000 dApps day one. And
I'm already getting this guy's like ADA's price is dropping. Yeah, it's bullshit. It's like, dude, seriously, who gives a fuck?
I know. Zoom out. Look at the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to drop. People are going to. What are they? They're going to buy the hype. They're going to buy the news, and they're going to sell the event. So what? Who cares? So it drops.
I'd say the biggest
buy more ADA
though. I mean, it's the curve is
DCA.
Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're all hooking down right now. So it's not just ADA.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's the weekend dump for Bitcoin on Sunday. Big surprise.
Right.
Happens like clockwork at this point. So
people talk to me about the price.
Shelly was the same way. Like we forked into Shelly. We all got paid for the ITN, like right when it all went down, and we like ghetto rigged our pools so our payment hooked up as pledge. It's like woohoo!
I've said
right
that
away as soon as we got paid, it was like.
I just like the curse of ADA though, because Bitcoin always dumps or the market always dumps as soon as we have some major update. It's like it's something I've noticed.
It doesn't matter. It was like 13 cents.
No, back then it didn't matter.
14
Well,
cents at Shelly or something.
Well, of course.
It doesn't matter now. It's the same shit. It went down and I think it went down to 8 cents after that or something. It like sucked. It was like it wasn't anything special.
I have held with an iron fist since
and then all of a sudden, like
so there's nothing.
The question that I have and what I notice is people don't like to sell their ADA because as it goes up, that 5% that they're making paid out every 5 days. That just increases, and I see people liking that.
You bring up something I want to ask you guys as a layman again. I noticed, obviously, it's a fixed amount, and the rewards go down over time, and I also know that transaction fees are supposed to make up for it. I know all these details, but I noticed that it was that just went from like 5.5 from a lot of these pools to, I'm talking about the big pools that most people stake to like under 5. Is that not a little concerning? Is that going to just keep going down? Do we really think that transactions are going to make up for that, or is the percentage just going to keep going down, down? Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's been a little concerning.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm seeing it.
We're going to have additional revenue
so
options.
You could just
Totally
add
additional revenue. Yeah.
I've done some
But is
math
that going to
on
go
it.
to stakers, to delegators like myself, or is that just for pool people?
Yeah, as we phase out of block production, we're going to start to integrate into percentage of transactions. So it should be an easy transition out and in. Otherwise, what would be the motivation for supporting the network?
Well, that's the essence of my question, because I'm like, are we going to maintain 5%? Will it go below? Is it going to go higher?
We need users, all about the users, man. And so, and it's other things too, like these dApps. Like what's going to happen is so what I'm doing with the Doja, I've got, this whole concept. I can leverage a decentralized architecture, Cardano, fantastic. But then there's this centralized architecture on there. I want to decentralize that too. And I'm not alone. So there's a lot of other companies or initiatives that are going to have centralized components that they too want to decentralize. So as they do that, there will be services that they can offer stake pool operators as well. And so some of these can play out. There will be monetization opportunities in a lot of different ways is what I'm saying. And then we'll have Babel fees too. So it comes down to users. We need dApps that can draw a shit ton of fucking users, because users draw transaction fees. The more transaction fees, the more everybody earns.
That was the essence of my question. Will that value pass on to the delegators as well, the stakers to your pools? Because otherwise, guys would.
There has to be an incentive for you to stay. I mean, that's what Voltaire is all about. If we're sitting here running an ecosystem, and all of a sudden there's something out there that's better, that's more attractive, and we're losing, maybe that's something we say, well, shit, we got to vote and give everybody more. It's not good. I mean, that's what governance is.
It is a finite supply, right?
That's why it's so important that we get there.
It was in the chat. Was it Trippy Planet said USD doesn't give me 5%. I mean, it actually probably gives you more than negative 5% these days. So
what does?
Trippy Planet in the chat said USD doesn't give me 5%.
Oh, I thought it said USDC, but yeah.
That's one of my hard-hitting points when I talk to, because my focus is to go out and market to businesses. And so I'm looking for small business owners, CPA offices, law firms particularly. And these guys their eyes perk up when I talk to them about 5% gains, because it's unheard of anywhere. They just can't find it. And
but you can on other blockchains, and sometimes higher.
True.
And what I'm saying is do users care about decentralization? I get a lot of feedback as a regular person that people don't so much, which is why Solana went up, because it's highly centralized. Right. So I'm wondering how much they'll care when problems happen, but I mean before then.
Also keep in mind that 5% in ADA. So if ADA's value goes up, that 5% is a lot more than 5%.
Right, but that's the case with other.
That's the same for every. But my point is that nobody has a model like we do where there's zero risk in staking. And so I don't care if you talk to anybody who's savvy.
That's very true.
If you can present them a way to make money with zero risk, their eyes perk up, because that scenario doesn't exist.
I think there's only two. If you do USDC, which is of course tagged to the dollar, that's not that great. Or ours. That was the allure for me, was that it was simple. It was one touch. It was a little scary as a layman going into Daedalus when it first started and staking, but there's a lot of great options, a lot of great wallets that are just going to make it like, here, put some money here, press a button, and you get a return. I agree. That's how I sold a lot of people on ADA was that.
I push the risk.
No lockup time either.
Smart people will care about
sell
risk.
when you want.
That's a big deal. Yeah, a lot of the no locking, slashing, none of this funny business. I know Polkadot has, a bunch of them do. My thing is about centralization. It seems like a lot of people don't care. A lot of these users, they just
don't understand.
They don't understand. They haven't researched. They don't care.
I
All
agree.
They know is crypto.
I agree. I'm just wondering if we can overcome that
forest.
Ignorance. Do you know what I'm saying? I take a very, very dim view of humanity. So I don't know that they're going to care about your very true and accurate statements about this stuff. I had to dig into the details.
Yeah, a lot of people are here for the money and the gains, but it all goes back to the users, right?
Yeah.
dApps that pull in the users that are using the system, not just fucking have crypto and hold it. They're vested in it. It's either bringing great value to their life, right? That's the whole economic identity component of the mission, versus the industrial component, if we get those users, we can bring value to their lives as well. And then they care about ecosystem. Then you incentivize them. And that's really what it's all about, is this incentive tokenization.
I think gaming,
but we got to purge these fuckheads.
Yes, I think gaming. I think gaming is going to be a big one. And I just wonder if Cardano. Is Cardano up in terms of speed? Is it up for that? Because centralized blockchains, which sacrifice security and decentralization, can go faster, and that's what's required of gaming. And so I'm just wondering if Cardano's.
Well, no, but.
I'm not a fudster.
We'll get there, baby. We've got to we've got to scale. We've got to get there. So, like, can we go and get the whole, have billions of transactions? No, just start whooping ass? No. But here's how it's going to work, or at least here's how it will work.
Right.
So, games, the way tokens work on Cardano is that you got to send ADA with the native asset. There's min UTXO amount of ADA that's got to sit with each native asset, and the amount of that basically is dependent on the length of the native asset name or whatever. But anyway, so this min UTXO ADA, the model that's going to be extremely popular is users are going to initiate the withdrawal by paying that ADA amount. They're going to cover the transaction fee to send the tokens back to them, along with the amount of ADA that's going to come back with the token. So the users will basically cover that. And so, like, games, the way they're going to work, that freemium's been proven that it works. Like Fortnite, Apex Legends, everybody knows freemium works. And so the way they make their money is with the value prop and ad. Okay, cool. Jesse's here. So, like, in-game pickups. So basically, like, you play through the game and you get a chance to get, Sebastian's back. You get random shit that you can basically pick up, and some of it could be potentially world unique. And then at the end of the game, it's going to be like, oh, here's all the shit you got, and you're going to be like, oh, and you're going to select what you want to mint, and you're going to pay your transaction fee, and you're going to get your potentially world unique stuff. But what makes this what's going to win is the user can then take that and sell that shit on the open market.
I was going to say,
it's like sprinkling crack all over. You're creating economic opportunity.
What would
you
make
can do all kinds of crazy shit?
What
But that's
would
just
make
the NFT component.
a company like Blizzard not just make their own internal one, like, Warcraft Gold as an old example versus using a public one? But that's a good case. And I think Cardano having the native token thing, I don't think people appreciate how unique that is. And if you could just go to a company and say,
people don't even understand how powerful it is without smart contract.
That's right. You can just make these tokens.
You can do that shit without smart contracts.
Blizzard Blizzard may, but the truth is they're only going to be able to make something that can exist in their ecosystem. What they're going to have to do is bridge in to crypto to create stuff that can be carried out. And so that'll be their motivation. They're not going to try and reinvent an entire network that's universally connected. They're just going to create on the network.
That's why I'm saying that the native token standard is so valuable, because you can just make them. It's easy. You don't have to invest this whole big thing into it.
Exactly.
It's just boom, just like that.
They can do a whole lot off chain.
Right.
Yeah, there's a whole lot that can go off chain, but it's all about incentivizing your users. So, you don't want to sell users tokens. You gotta be real careful about that unless you have some good utility. So you want to give them away, but they've got to be useful for something.
A lot of the game theorists for these crypto, a lot of the game theorists for these cryptocurrencies came out of these companies. That's who they hired. Blizzard, all these guys who are making billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on these games. These guys are brilliant. They know these games are essentially economies in and of themselves. They're just not decentralized. So they're going to be probably one of the first handful of people, I think, to adopt this on a big scale. So I would just encourage the Cardano community to really look into the gaming space beyond just making pictures of cute animals. I mean, actual.
I got my bet on Player Mint.
We have people making games now, in the ecosystem. But I agree with you as far as getting like a mainstream game to adopt. Like you're right. It's got to be a great game. The gameplay has to be fun. It's got to be addictive. It's got to be replayable. There's all these facets that go into a good game. And the easiest way to do that is to start with an established game studio that knows what the fuck they're doing.
Or you could go with or you could go with a fund. I bought a lot of games on Kickstarter. We have this fund that's growing and growing and growing, and eventually it's going to expand beyond the immediate concerns of the technical issues and the political stuff and the all that kind of thing. It's going to be for other functions. So I could see like somebody saying, I want to build a video game, of a reasonable size. Here's my budget, just as they would for Kickstarter. And the community funds it, and then boom, you send it out into the wilderness. That's what I would do. I don't have the skills to do it, but that's what I would do.
Elon Musk just tweeted out a few minutes ago. Floki has arrived. It's a picture of a dog, but it's just kind of Floki.
Oh, he's such a weirdo. Jesus.
But it's like at this point in time, it's just, I don't know. It just makes you wonder.
Do you think he gives two goddams about Cardano?
I was just about to ask.
What I know he's going to do, because I study this guy. Those Cybertrucks are going to come out and mine cryptocurrency. They're going to incentivize leaving the trucks plugged into the grid so they can do power balancing on the grid. They're going to incentivize it by allowing the full self-driving computers to mine crypto.
But I think he's going to use Dogecoin because it's a meme. My friend is a big investor in that company. He owns a ton of shares, and he said he's all about that Dogecoin because it's a meme, and he understands memes.
You can't change Doge though to really fit the purpose.
He doesn't care. He thinks he can spend the money and just ultimately make a brand new crypto, basically under Doge.
Okay, so that I would believe he would do that. He would actually just create a new crypto, but because he had a tweet that said something to the effect that we'll see. I can't remember the exact wording, but the idea was if we can change it, if we can fix it, which implied that if they can't fix it, then they'll do something else.
Didn't Vitalik say he was behind it or something? Even he was behind this Dogecoin being upgraded or something. I think Elon
was on some
reached
board
out to
or
him.
something.
Something like that. I just like Dogecoin, really? But he likes memes. And he knows the power of them. He knows the power of social media.
Yeah, what he's trying to do is get everybody to be more efficient communicators. That's why he's doing what he's doing. He thinks speaking is way too efficient, and that's why he's working on that Neuralink.
Yes, he's, and I say this with kindness because I'm probably on there. He's on the spectrum. He's a min-maxer. He's looking for efficiencies in every aspect of life. So that's not shocking.
I actually think he's not on the spectrum. I think I don't think.
You think it's an act?
I think so.
Oh, yes.
You think he's that Lex Luthor that he's just pretending to do that for the memes, for the lulz?
I like the guy, but see, it allows him to dodge criticism.
It does. I don't know if it's planned, but you're right, maybe. But my only point was about the gaming, and I think I look forward to really seeing that. Big gamer myself.
Yeah, we had a few very important questions from viewers.
Okay.
One of the viewers wants to know if Kyle is lit right now. Kyle,
we need a technical answer, sir.
100%.
Yeah,
on the tip.
And
guys, come on.
It's not just the bandwidth.
He's high on life. He's high on life.
Did it.
It's a party. We're all getting drunk on the tears of
Ethereum maxis.
I got my caffeinated bubbly.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
Real
so
quick,
one more screen share, Papa Carp. I think what we need to do is just is give people an update. So this is most likely CNCLI. People need to update their CNCLI.
Yeah, I checked with Sonny. He was saying that his nodes are all running at 16 gigs, so it wasn't a memory problem. It was probably just a CNCLI.
I can tell you that one of my reporting nodes, which the reports tips actually was running CNCLI 2.0. So I'm updating.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I don't. I know. I was telling everybody that it'd be funny if it's popped up. My nodes they're running fine. It's just the one that is reporting the tip. I never report the tip directly from my core.
That sounds so wrong.
Yeah, that's what I do.
That's
what the security-minded person would do. Why would you?
I don't report my tips because I don't want to run it from from a block producer. So yeah, I was thinking about putting it on a relay, but I was like, so that's why I don't report, because I didn't, because I'm like.
I mean that relay is very close to the block producer, so I'm not cheating that much. I'm not cheating at all.
With CNCLI, you can have it anywhere, and it'll report. It'll just ask your block producer what its tip is at, and then report that. So it completely hides it from the network.
Okay.
The current version of CNCLI
so CNCLI. Just make sure you're running the current version. Otherwise, it won't work.
And what version is that right now?
I just compiled it because I think it's 3.1.5 is what.
Yeah, it is. I just
yeah, because I had one that fell off too. So I've been upgraded this whole time.
I just had to reboot it.
Wow.
It happens. It happens.
I mean, who would have
How
known,
long
right?
we
I mean,
doing this now?
we didn't think that.
About a year? No.
What's that?
Mainnet.
A year.
What'd you ask?
No, we've been doing this shit for almost 2 years now.
Yeah. December of
it's been 2
19 was
years.
INTN start, right?
Hey, remember
Yeah, but
Kyle
we're-
how we
we're-
used to strategize about epoch transitions on CNCLI? It would be like we would just time it like 2 or 5 minutes before we would. just
CNCLI didn't
do
exist,
everything.
man.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Jormungandr?
Jormungandr.
JCLI.
CLI. CNCLI.
All right, I'm still showing
ITN.
chain density at 5.1%, so the chain is still thick and long. So I think we're
That's
good.
what she said.
I was that.
Just the tip, Rick.
Oh,
All
sounds
mine
like
in
the
the
network
gutter,
is
man.
fine.
You're in the
I
gutter.
will leave you guys
favorite
for
game.
today.
Okay.
Take care.
Yeah.
Right, Einstein. Good
Bye.
night.
Later, brother. Good night.
Yeah, make sure, guys, whoever is listening
Norway.
to update your CNCLI.
Do you think we'll be graced by
Or whatever you're
Charles?
using, like if you're still using other
Yep.
handmade, homemade stuff, make sure you update your homemade stuff. No, nothing changed on the pool tool end, right, Mike?
Nope.
Yeah. Okay, so the pool tool end is still the same. It's just if they're using CNCLI and they happen to be reporting, they need
Yep.
to update that. What other tools report, just in case? Drawer Manager, I know Andrew wasn't able to make it in. Can you report tips with Drawer Manager?
I think he recommends you have CNCLI running for that, so it's all CNCLI.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a Shelley send tip script, not the Big Frog send tip
That's
script,
what
but
I'm
it's
doing.
Shelley
That's what-
send tip script. Yeah.
Yeah,
Using-
there's a Shelley
That's what
send
Super Frog Big Tip is. That's all Super Frog Big Tip is.
But yeah, I would
Give
recommend
me a text of the
CNCLI.
chain.
so much talk of tips and
I know you.
thickness and
I know
longness?
you do.
Jesus.
and density and change.
Yeah.
Density.
That's why this
So-
turned into a freaking sausage party. It's supposed to be a love party. Fuck, guys.
Anyway,
Is this
I
what
think
guys and groups talk about?
guys, it was very successful transition to Alonzo. Everything
Sounds
went
like it.
smoothly. The only issue we had is a lot of people didn't upgrade CNCLI, but I think that's not a major issue.
Oh yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank
Hey.
you. Congratulations, everybody.
you're
Nice
welcome.
work,
Yeah,
guys.
welcome to
Good job,
Alonzo.
everyone.
Good job. Good job. Nice work,
How
everybody.
does this compare to like Shelley, like back then? I mean, that must,
Similar.
Similar.
A little rocky, a little bumpy. Little dun. We're good.
Shelly's totally different because Shelly broke everything, right? By design.
that's why I asked. Yeah.
Right? But for Alonzo, mostly everything is backwards compatible. It's like some small changes that you have to take into account, like the fact that there are now failed transactions on chain. They have to properly take into account, and the minimum UTXO value changes a bit. There's like some small stuff that if you don't upgrade, like it'll be a subpar experience.
Right.
But overall, it mostly just works as is. If a company forgot to upgrade, they're probably fine as long as they're connecting to a node that did. Compared to Shelley, where just everything was broken for like a month or two.
Yes.
It's
This
quite
guy
a feat.
keeps asking if we have a dice game live yet.
Dice game.
Well, how's it supposed to work?
Tell them to make one.
I mean, like seriously. I mean, it shouldn't be hard to do. Somebody will build it. Like it's not.
I have one that's almost done. I was kind of holding off to see what kind of chaos happened before trying to put it out there, but
Let the
yeah.
dust settle.
Oh, is it like Ether Roll? So the oldest game I've ever played on crypto was ETH Roll, which was it's a really dumb game. You just put the slider bar. It's decentralized. It uses smart contract, but it goes through a web interface where you go to the ETH Roll web interface, right? And you just put a slider bar and you say, well, the higher you slide it, the worse your odds, the higher the rewards if you win. It's really that simple.
Do you think we should have like Cardano
Take your
kitties?
risk.
Like Cardano kitties, like exact replica? Just be like, but it works this
We got
time.
crypto nitties, man. We
Yeah.
did.
Well, they
they're
got
Shark
coming.
kitties.
Yeah.
Try and
I
catch
haven't,
shark
I'm not
kitties.
an NFT guy, so I wasn't sure, but I got you.
Have you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
have you guys seen our NFT game that we made with the ADA cards where we made the ADA cards, right? And then people
Magic?
can log in with make an account and choose like 5 pools. and then they get points every time their pools make blocks if they have the ADA cards for them.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh wow, that's
fantasy,
cool.
Very cool. Fantasy card game at Ada
Yes, yeah, the fantasy
one,
staking. Sonny keeps winning though. He likes to play. He keeps winning.
You know, it'd be a good one is like
Swear
that
dude, Sonny.
I could see like a Magic the Gathering type of
very intuitive
game on Cardano, like rare cards on common cards.
Sure.
Well, that's what we did. That's what we did with the ADA cards, right? We just
Yeah.
made it all about like stake pools, commons,
cool.
rares, uncommons,
Right.
legendaries, epics.
I see you.
Yeah, but he didn't include me. So
Hey, we tried to include everybody. It was. I may not have sent you a specific message, but it was definitely out there.
I'm gonna do something stupid with Jet Chicken.
Can you imagine though, just taking
Adam and I are gonna
somebody's
be really stupid with
taking
it.
somebody's face out of the community and then putting on a card that says common, then you'd get all those people upset with you. Why am I not rare? Am I a unique snowflake?
All right,
Yeah,
so
you
we'll
gotta
do
be careful with that. People have feelings. You know?
Yeah, I'm gonna take off too, you guys. Have a good day.
My wife
Thanks a
tells
lot.
me. All right,
Thanks.
later, Mike. See you.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Mike.
Do you think we'll be graced with Charles? Will he say hi?
he might.
That'd be cool if you did.
Maybe.
But Rick can get him in.
Has he been invited?
I just want to compliment him on his suit.
You start tweeting at him, he might. He's probably
Yeah.
cleaning up.
Let's tweet him right now.
My Twitter, and I have less than 1,000 people following me, is going nuts. So I can imagine what his is like.
I sent him a link, and they were doing an event. I was assuming he had an event, so I sent him a link with the caveat: if you happen to have time, we'll be over here goofing off.
Hey, Seb, I had a quick question for you. Yesterday I had a really interesting discussion with a game developer. He's an active member in Cardano. So his name is Holger, and he's developing a space simulator. And I was thinking,
cool.
Why don't you, instead of just basically creating another space sim, which is a dime a dozen out there, right? Why don't you use, a decentralized infrastructure in order to, basically run the game rather than putting everything in one, under your company. That way, if you, so my thinking was that if your, incentive structure is right, then that game perpetuates itself into infinity, right? Because everybody is going to run those nodes to earn a currency, right? And then whoever wants to play plays that game. And also, you don't run the risk of somebody hacking your servers because it's centralized and playing the game the way they want. Because bunch of nodes need to calculate everything and agree upon, and they basically have replicated databases. Is that a far-fetched idea, or can it be done on a game like a multiple MMO game, the Space Simulator?
Yeah, this is a really hard problem.
Or just something that they call in gaming like emergent gaming, where things kind of produce randomly to some degree.
I just wanted to hear what Seb thinks about that, though, because I think we have a bunch of NFTs right out here that are being produced, and we kind of show them to each other and say, "Oh, you look at this GIF, right?" What if that thing basically existed in a game and had a purpose and whatnot, and then it would add an extra layer of value, right, for your NFT that you could basically, sell, buy, and inherit. Imagine your granddaughter actually playing a game with your NFT when you're long gone, things like that.
There are games on blockchains. It's not on ours, obviously, yet, that are doing stuff like that, where it's kind of like in a Minecraft type of environment. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear about that.
And you could do things like burning, some mentioned a common card or something like that. But you could have it where people could take 3 of them and toss them in and see if they could get a rare one back with maybe a chance of losing it all. But so you could have people.
Well, that's exactly That's exactly what we're gonna do with Jet Chicken. We're gonna chicken combinator where you send in three cards and they'll hump or whatever, and you'll come back with a weird hybrid that's a little bit stronger.
But Seb, what about
actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
What about these like space simulators? I mean, are they so computationally intensive? I mean, the size of the packets that they send over the network. What's the bottleneck for this not to happen?
Can you give me an example of a space simulator? I'm not exactly sure what type of game that is.
That could mean a lot of things. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the space simulator is, basically you're flying a ship. It has it coordinates at a certain point of time in a space, and it has certain capabilities. Let's say the jump drive can go from one coordinate to another. The range determines the range, and the servers, as far as I know, basically holds that information for each and every artifact or each ship. And if the client is basically sending that and it doesn't have those capabilities, then the client could be hacked, but the server will not allow it. But the gist of it is that these games, if they send a lot of information across the internet, maybe it's going to be hard to replicate them on a decentralized network. So just imagine
a first-person shooter probably wouldn't work, but if it's like a turn-based thing, does anybody remember Trade Wars 2000? I don't know, it's like a bulletin board game.
Well, yeah. Well, you know where it could work. I know what you mean by the turn-based, like Legends of Dragoon, but games like Elder Scrolls Online, and if you have a piece of armor and it's made out of so much of a certain piece of material, you can take that armor apart and break it down into its subcomponents and then use it to rebuild other armor. And each of these things have value, right? And there's also coins in the game and stuff like that. So I'm not saying like the high-speed first-person shooter part of the game. That would run local, right? And it would use server-to-server, high-speed internet, so that you know your location. You're doing hand-to-hand combat with another character, stuff like that. That is ultra-high speed. That requires millisecond latency, right? But when it comes to buy, sell, and trade parts inside the game...
Yep.
The market part of the game.
Well, I can tell you for sure
it's
that
in-game pickups.
I can tell you for sure.
No, but it can be first-person player games too, because like Call of Duty, if like I could get like the world's only boner sword, and like be running around the game whacking fuckers.
Because you have to remember, modern games all use markets and RPG like systems. All genres.
Sure.
Oh, that's freeze frame.
Yeah, you know what I think?
There's an integration point for all types of games. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes.
No, I think it's a perfect, the Cardano ecosystem, right? The Cardano's SPOs are a perfect playing ground for a decentralized gaming. As Ed mentioned, I tweeted about it yesterday also. I think this is where we're going to go because ultimately you will have these virtual currencies that will have value.
Games got to be good.
So the reason I'm asking Seb is because he probably knows exactly what the challenges are in that regard.
I mean, it's being done.
Gotta be good.
I mean, you have Axie Infinity, right?
Like hell.
The question is the infrastructure decentralized? Because that's the critical sort of distinction. You can run it on in a data center with one company, but I want it. Here's the distinction. I want the game to be as decentralized as a network, and the servers to be independently incentivized to run the game.
Check this out. What if you have a game where the interface can be
all right?
Any interface can be applied, but to the same economics of like selling and trading the items, but other developers could create a different interface.
It brings me back to what I mentioned before.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Hey. All right. I'll be quiet now. The man's here.
Hey.
Nice outfit, man. Nice
dude. I had this shit custom made in LA. And then she said, hey, it's going to arrive on the 13th. I said, fuck that. That's like a wedding cake arriving the day after your wedding. That's so good.
Buster.
This is my first time on video with Charles Hoskinson. I feel giddy.
We had to send a courier to LA to pick it up and bring it here to get the costume in time. But we got
it. Was worth it, man. It was worth it. It's awesome. That's
awesome. Yeah. How's everyone feeling? Okay, first off, SPOs in the audience.
Yes,
how's
here.
the chain?
Hey.
Slick, man.
Good. Going good.
Everything's
okay.
We watched it close. Yeah,
Density's looking good. You're making blocks. Who made? I think the first block was made by Husky Pool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Oh, she'll never live that down then.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I'm proud of all you guys. Thank you so much for upgrading in time. 85% upgrade rate on pretty short notice. Feels good.
We're proud of you,
side of it.
man.
Thank you, Charles. We're proud, man.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank you for everything
this,
you're doing,
Charles.
man.
Yeah, we're
awesome.
We're proud of
What's
you.
it,
Carry you
everybody?
forward.
Cheers.
You did it.
I'm drinking some Japanese
yeah.
whiskey.
Heck
It's
yeah.
all right. Let's see it.
Cheers. I'll do coffee.
He's like, got coffee. Got my caffeinated bubbly.
Oh yeah.
Here's
Oh,
my
yeah. So y'all ready for
seltzer
the
water.
summit?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I can't
I'll
wait.
be there.
Cannot
Yeah.
wait. Yeah.
Flying
Yeah.
in.
Had all my kids.
Eat maxi tears right there.
Yes.
Dad's gonna come out. That'd be cool.
Hey, everybody's a winner.
Yeah, yes, we are.
We got so much stuff coming down the pipe too. We got some good announcements too at the summit that are going to be a lot of fun. So I think you're all going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I
about it.
think
we kept our powder dry for the 25th, 26th.
That's
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's unbelievable.
That's why everyone thinks like this is it. And it's like, dude, there's gonna be a bunch more stuff in like 10 more days.
Oh,
It's just the beginning, man. This is the beginning of the just beginning of all
At
of
the
it.
end of the month, the application back end will come out.
Martin's back.
Then we got a little bit of cleanup we got to do in October, but I think we'll probably see the heavy lifting applications running on testnet, mainnet throughout October, November, and before the end of the year, we should have a lot of DeFi and dApps running on Cardano. That ecosystem map, we're going to go through it and say, hey, if you deserve to be on the map, you got to get shit out. So how do we make sure that gets done?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that is fair. That's very
What's our
fair.
potential? Like, what's our potential
like
look
that.
like? Do we have an
I like
estimation?
that a lot.
Do we have an estimation on how much should be rolling out, like over time, based off of like testnet projects?
Everybody's doing their
Dude,
thing
look
at
at our
different pace.
look at our
like
NFT market with no smart contracts, man.
Right.
yeah.
Well-
I mean,
well,
like,
for-
the smart
so-
contract tools are gonna come, and
Do you guys
Go
have
ahead.
internal analytics about this, Charles?
Yeah, we have definitely a lot from our pipeline, and then there's the Emergo pipeline as well, and then the foundation has been working with a lot of people. So the application backend has to be running well and fully productized before I imagine a lot of things will get deployed on mainnet. And
Like the tooling.
they have probably another 2 or 3 weeks of heavy development on that. We were hoping to get all that done about September 10th. But it's just there's so much that goes on there that it's going to be a little bit longer for that. And once that piece of key infrastructure is in place, then a lot of stuff is going to start rolling on. So we'll see probably 3 to 5 dexes, I think, before the end of the year. We're building Dejet, that stable coin, and we'll have a whole presentation on that. And that's a beautiful work of art. And there's a lot of stuff like that. And then there's a lot of community projects that are being funded through Catalyst right now and Fund 5. That will probably make substantial progress. There's 154 have received Catalyst funds. Probably 100 will receive funds this funding round. And we might get one more round in before the end of the year. And that engine just keeps spinning up and spooling up. And then there's a lot of adoption from governments and companies and everything. So we'll announce some things. I'm also going the Africa tour after I take my vacation. So at the end of the summit, I'm taking 2 weeks off, relax. I'm going to sleep, hang around with my bison, and then I'm going to Africa. I'm going South Africa, Tanzania, Zanzibar, Burundi, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Egypt, all in 3 weeks' time, meeting 5 heads of state. So it's going to be pretty fucking crazy.
Nice. Are you taking your helicopter?
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, taking something else I own that shall remain nameless.
Taking sunscreen.
Oh, that's dope.
Are you bringing the helicopter to the summit still?
I'm going to see if I
The
can.
sales guy get you? Did he follow up and get you?
With that F-15 that you're trying to sell you?
Yeah. So it's registered agricultural by the FAA, and so I got to figure out how to get that registration changed, because right now it's technically not allowed to have passengers unless they're critical to the operations of the vehicle.
We can qualify as cows.
Yeah, I was just going to say, why don't you
register as a cow.
just throw a bison in there.
So the FAA is like, oh, you can't use it to transport people, even though you've transported 10 million flight hours of people with the military. But I can go on my ranch and mount a minigun, seriously, a minigun on it, and just unload on varmints. And that's totally legal under the current FAA designation. While fighting a wildfire.
Please do that.
While fighting a wildfire. Put a tarantula bag on it, get the hook, and
Got
go
an NFT that bad boy.
Yeah, right. So that's okay, and that's totally safe and fine. But going from airport A to B, we don't know about that. It just shows you how fucked up the federal government is.
Miniguns.
But we'll
if I come
figure it
visit
out.
you in Colorado, can I fly in a helicopter with you and I'll be the gunner and I'll shoot coyotes and stuff?
Yeah, give us jobs.
Anyway, we're working with them and we'll figure that out. But it's probably a long haul. It's probably going to take about 3 to 6 months to get all that classification taken care of. But we got it. It's sitting there. It's in a hangar in Cheyenne, and we've been slowly retrofitting it. Some things were decommissioned that I wasn't too ecstatic about, like the heating system on the blades. So Blackhawks are super well designed. So the actual blades are titanium, and their core is an insulator. So it's always hot. When you touch it, you can burn your hand on it. And that's made for de-icing. So you can get to the service ceiling of about 19,000 feet. Wow. That was decommissioned. So we got to get that recommissioned. And there's a dozen other little things that have to be fixed up and some interior changes. And I'm going to put a bladder in it so I can get a 1,300-mile flight range. So it's a process. Blackhawk living ain't easy, but it's the only Blackhawk that has Garmin 5000 avionics in it. So it's complete glass cockpit. It's
nice.
Real cool to fly.
I hope you see some UFOs.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool.
No, it's rigged up for door gunning. So you got to open. You just put your hand outside, if you want.
What do you mean? He's a UFO. What are you
So
talking about?
I have to indulge myself with Charles. That's probably the only time I'll ever chat with him. Two things. I had the honor of being called a Shelby on Twitter by Charles because he thought I was trolling him, and I had an army of people come after me because I was being sarcastic. It wasn't actually trolling me. And Charles said, "Don't be a Shelby," and I had an army of people descend on my tiny little Twitter account. And I'm like, does Charles hate me?
No, that's a de-escalation point. It's like saying, don't be a Shelby. Come on now.
Everyone thought that it was like, Charles hates you. And I went to Rick. I said, please tell him. I was actually on your
I think it may have been the first time you used it. That's what was so funny.
I don't know. I realized sarcasm also doesn't translate on Twitter, but I remember being on one of Charles' first streams, and there was like 50 people watching, and like he was just talking about Cardano stuff, obviously. And then I said, hey, Charles, do you know about Planescape Torment? I was the guy who first brought up Planescape to him, and his eyes just lit up when I brought up Arcanum and Planescape and all this dorky stuff, because we're like similar in age. We played the same games, and it was really gratifying to see him just get so excited about that. He's like, I don't want to talk about Cardano anymore. I want to talk about Planescape Torment, which like 5 nerds on the internet know about.
Well, if you max out Constitution with the nameless one, you actually slowly regenerate, which is probably one of the most useful things.
You got to crank your charisma all the way up because you just talk through the whole game.
Right, that's true. You can win the whole game without killing anybody.
That's right. Yeah, so I grew up playing those same games, so I'm not surprised you're a billionaire.
Yeah,
all the people I know play those games.
It was a phenomenal game. I think, for its time,
yes.
It was well ahead of its time, and it's one of those games that I'd love to buy the IP for and completely redo. The other thing is they should have done a Baldur's Gate 3, and I always thought it would have been really cool to actually have an overlap between Planescape Torment and Baldur's Gate 3. And there was a character in Baldur's Gate 2 throwing a ball named Corgan. And, I was always trying to figure out like what was the best way to end Corgan's story. And there could have been something in 3 where you'd actually switch the nameless one with Corgan. And that would have been a great redemption arc. Because, Corgan was like, he just loved killing things all day long. And in the nameless one, he ended up being trapped in the abyss, forced to fight the endless war. So
I was the SVOs don't hate me for bringing up this nerdy shit.
Yeah, well, but I mean,
awesome.
Guys, it really
don't
was.
apologize.
It's classic.
It really was one of the greatest games ever made.
We were spoiled. People in our like early 30s who grew up with those console and PC alike, that was like the golden era for video games. All those games, Icewind Dale, all those classics. And the thing is, Planescape Torment was one of those D&D campaign settings that the company just got rid of. And so when they made a pseudo sequel, they just called it Torment, but it used a completely different system. So you'd have to go to Wizards of the Coast and get them to give up one of their campaign settings. I wish they would, because it's a great one, but they lock those things up really tight.
Yeah. One of the easiest companies to get IP license from is Games Workshop. If you want to make a Dawn of War, a Warhammer 40K video game, So if you guys like Warhammer 40K, there you go. The game development company is going to do that. By the way, speaking of games in Cardano, we've made amazing progress with Crypto Bison. We have a whole presentation on Crypto Bison at the summit. I think you guys are going to like it. We're taking NFTs to the next level. We're taking video games on Cardano to the next level. We're even working with Unreal 5 as the game engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So do you think
That's
Charles,
news.
do you think we could do like an Axie Infinity or a Minecraft or that kind of world building emergent gameplay type of stuff on Cardano? Can it handle the transaction speed? One of the things I heard a lot from the Solana people, all these people, is that the centralized chains, which many of them are, can, they give up security and all these other things for the sake of speed. And so they're going to be better for gaming. And I'd love to hear your response to that.
Well, if you have a layer 2 solution, then you get all the benefits of a centralized solution without any of the downsides for the most part. So your bottom base level chain, it has a heartbeat. It's only going to beat at a certain rate. Maybe that's every 5 seconds or every 10 seconds. And people say, oh, well, we can have 29 million blocks per second or something like that. It's like, no, if you get below a certain latency, which is the diameter of the Earth, that's about a second or so. Then you start running into some problems. And so you really can't go to sub-second blocks in an actual truly distributed system where you have an assumption of a network diameter of about 5 or 6 hops. This has been known since like 2013.
Block time is not finality time, right? Sorry for the interruption. There's a delay.
Yeah, Roger Wattenhofer and Eric Decker, they wrote a paper that actually talked about this during the big block debates that were happening way back in the day. But that's okay, because the question is, what do you need to change at that slow rate of that heartbeat? Well, you can serialize and batch that and do all kinds of things with the layer 2 system. So it just depends on how you handle off-chain computation and your trust model that you have there. What's nice about the SPOs is the SPOs are very nice for parallel computing, and they can run a subnet and be highly synchronized and run at sub-second latencies. And do all kinds of crazy things like you would in a video game. But then there's strong cryptographic guarantees that the state of the world is going to eventually be consistent with the view that people have. And there's controls and checks and balances to prevent front running or other things. The very same thing you would use for a DEX can be reused for a game like Minecraft, where you have a common state of the world. So I absolutely believe it's possible, and I think it's something that would be a super fun project to indulge in next year. One of the reasons we did Crypto Bison is we wanted to really push the state of the art of NFTs and go from static to dynamic NFTs, where you don't just hold them and own them, but you do stuff with them that increases the value of them, and actually make them far more collectible, and actually add in PvP mechanics and games of chance and skill and these types of things. So it'll be a lot of fun to see where that goes. And also, we really wanted to start discussing how would you integrate Cardano into middleware, whether it be Unity or Unreal or CryEngine or these other game middleware layers. And we're working our way to Unreal.
That's where it's
Unreal
at,
5 for that. But over time, we'll get to the other pieces of middleware, and then it's just a question of who's going to be the first to create a Minecraft. I think that would be a super cool catalyst challenge.
I agree. I said that. I actually said earlier in the stream, I said that would be the perfect thing to put in Catalyst. Say, I'm going to, like a Kickstarter, fund that game. And you can do like a Minecraft. You could do a Pokemon style collectathon game. Those are hugely popular.
The Cornucopias guys are going to do something cool.
Yeah.
They're going to try and they're going to go for that.
So I think gaming is going to be the next frontier of adoption.
The right game.
It's funny, Charles, that we were talking about exactly the same thing before you came in. I think that the next sort of evolution of games is that they're going to be decentralized, just like the networks themselves, right? So, and isn't that great feeling? Like when you buy an artifact in a game, that that it will live for hundreds of years or whatnot, because right now, if I buy some sword or win a sword or something, right, I'm at the mercy of one company to close the shop or get rid of this game, whatever it chooses to do, and I have spend my hours, sweat and blood earning that thing, and then all of a sudden it just becomes nothing, right? Or at best, if they decide to put it on a blockchain, it becomes a nice GIF, right? But wouldn't that be great if there was a self-sustaining, just the way that Cardano is, a mechanism for nodes to actually, run these games and cryptographically, secure a network and make sure that the calculations are always correct so that nobody hacks a game and becomes like invincible God level mode and whatnot. And there is an economic benefit for the people who run the infrastructure ad infinitum. And that way, you basically create a cohort of followers throughout years, for generations. Like, let's say, you die and your granddaughter inherits something, and then she plays it, and it becomes like something meaningful.
Yeah. So Umed, what's really cool about what you're saying is first off, there's this idea of the video game, and then there's the collective effort that's spent on that video game and the things within it. And we're in this crisis, especially with online games, so that when the game dies or an event happens,
it all dies.
You have a potential of losing history. Like there's some Minecraft servers where if they went down and their state got wiped, over 1 million man years of collective effort would be lost. Can you just imagine that? 1 million man years. That's like starting to get to Mars mission, moon mission type of collective effort, because you have like millions of players working at it all the time for years and years and years and years. So the metaverse idea, this concept that you could just basically preserve the state of the things you've done in that history in some sort of meta thing that's outside of the game world. And even if that particular instance or interface of the game dies, that's there forever. And that can be reused in other video games and cross-played. That's a very powerful thing. Just look at Blizzard with Diablo. We got Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And now 3 and now 4.
Architecturally, it's going to be totally different. It's going to be totally different because it's okay. So you've got a game. We've got token representations, right? They can be moved wherever. I can make a game for this NFT platform that we're doing, but whoever holds these, the community could go and make their own game. Not a damn thing I can do about it. So there's a whole other platform so people can take. It's going to get wild. And I can just see it. It's going to get so nuts.
That's just one economic opportunity that we have with Cardano. There's hundreds of them, but I think that's going to be one of the USPs that's very powerful.
That's what I was saying earlier, and I think are we the only ones who have native tokens, native assets? Because that strikes me as a big deal for a gaming company. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. They just go, boom, we're going to deploy these assets. No fancy programmers, just like an NFT, just make these assets. To me, as a layman, speaking, that's pretty powerful.
Assets with Babel fees, assets with governance, assets with metadata, assets with treated as a first-class citizen instead of like a secondary. Yeah, we're the only ones who has this grand vision.
And for gaming, that's huge. That's huge.
And this is what the color coin guys were talking about for years. I knew Manny and Alex Mithrahi and all these other guys from 2012, 2011. And they wrote all these papers about color coins. And I was like, yeah, it's a good idea. So when we were designing our native asset standard, I said, hey, let's just do what the color coin guys were trying to do, but we can actually do because we have control over the ledger rules. And they're like, yeah, let's go do that. And they just took it to the next level and designed, a really elegant thing that comes from 10 years of history. Now that we have that, that's just a huge USP.
Do you think there's receptivity at the big gaming companies for this?
What's that? Sorry,
there's
also a question in chat. When Joe Rogan?
Oh,
Jesus!
Yeah.
That's
a Goguen.
When Basho? When Hydro? When Rogan?
I'm texting Joe.
Well, we're going to talk. We're going to talk a lot about Basho and Voltaire at the summit. So don't miss that. And I think we can get both those releases out next year. So we'll complete the entire roadmap. The 2020 roadmap shall be completed in 2022. Not too bad. Vitalik was saying like F2 would come out in 2016. So I'm still a little bit ahead of him, right? But remember, we had to rewrite all the codes.
Given the Byron reboot, right. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Rogan, I think probably Q1, Q2 of next year would be the best timing for it, because that's where things get a little interesting. We'll be kind of entering Basho and Voltaire. We'll have a lot of really cool governance things going off. We'll have a large wave of applications that are running, a lot of progress with Cardano nations, and we'll have our own El Salvador type of a thing at some point, and a lot of this type of stuff. So the space will be in a better place, and we'll be in a very competitive place, because you got to remember it's 20 million people. And so you have to ask, okay, if we're going to go and have that kind of notoriety and publicity, strategically, it makes a lot of sense to embrace it when you're in a position where there's a lot to do. And,
do it at your peak.
Now we're there.
Yeah.
It's just more of a question of what is enough in that. And I think great voting experience, lots of dApps, a dApp store, great light client experiences, better web experiences, a more formed Cardano Foundation. By the way, they just announced their new board. It's finally no longer an interim board. Julian Miller and the rest are there, and the board is growing, and we're real excited about seeing that. So probably Q1, Q2 would be the ideal time from a timing perspective to introduce the concept of Cardano to the.
I'm surprised it's that soon. I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, if they call, you say yes. I mean, that's what happened to Lex Friedman. He called, and I was like, okay.
You won't have a lack of stories with camels and helicopters and eagles and being rich and having.
Well, I got $400 on my ranch, man. It's pretty crazy. And there's bow hunting going on. I'm just about to take Kyudo lessons. That's the Japanese archery. There's a lot of really cool stuff that I have on the extracurricular side.
You won't run out of stuff to talk about.
We're gonna do like 6.5 hours. We'll just start drinking about halfway through. We'll be shit-faced drunk by the end.
Are you going to go for the longest one? Are you going to beat Alex Jones?
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, we're going to crush Alex. And then Alex will show up like 4 hours into the podcast. Be like, I'm double parked outside. I just want to
that'll be wild.
Promise me some of big.
On a more serious note, have you ever done DMT?
Oh, jeez.
Well,
Alex is the mushroom man.
The video of the chimp.
But we do have Happapus.
Yeah.
Happy octopus.
Well, he'll like your enthusiasm for mushrooms.
That's true. And the mushroom farms, Farmbox, we just put the orders in for 2 of their modules. So I'll have a fully operational mushroom farm here in a little bit. I've been going down to their facility in Denver. And now I'm getting that at my farm in Longmont. And actually, if everything looks good there, I'm going to scale it from 2 to 20 modules. So it'll be a very major commercial operation. The other thing, guys, I was looking at is the price of hay is absolutely baller crazy. It's $200 to $500 a ton.
Yeah.
Normally, it's 50.
People won't notice that probably because they're not farmers. Is it really that
Can you
bad?
cut it where you are, or does it not grow?
I get about 3 cuts on the farm in Longmont, but the one up in Wyoming, I only get 1 cut. With the current way we're doing irrigation, I got a lot of land. It's 11,000 acres, so I can grow about
tears
to 120.
Rick is drinking all of the ETH Maxi tears.
Hey man, save me some
Showing us
ETH
all.
Maxi tears.
Oh, that's great.
more.
I got my official Cardano shirt. Peyton sent this to me for free. He was a good dude.
Well, guys, I'll show you something. Check it out.
What's that?
I got my IO Grand Summit 2019 shirt on.
Hey,
How
wait,
about
I want
that?
that one. When we get those, I want that.
Yeah.
Oh, James Kelly's OG.
What is it?
We can only get NFTs of those shirts.
Yeah, right.
I should appreciate this shirt. It's,
Paul for president. Was that the 2012 or the 2008? 2008.
This was the 2012.
2012.
I got a 2008 in the closet.
Charles probably printed the 2008s.
I had a friend show up in 2007 trying to telling me about Ron Paul, and we were like, who wants this guy with 2 first names? And when he got to the tax part, he said he wants to abolish IRS. It's like, oh, okay, he got me.
Well, we can all get behind that.
Yeah. And then it was just all in from there on.
I was horrified when they said we're gonna double capital gains. I'm like, I just got this money. I've been poor my entire life, and now you want to double it? It's like, oh man.
Yeah, well, capital gains in Japan is tax for crypto the same as regular income. So
I don't understand that.
55%.
I think that'll happen here too, though, right?
I don't understand that. You take risks making that money. You run a risk of losing it, right? Whereas when you're employed, you kind of have a paycheck, and when you make capital gains, you might have like 10 years of dry years where you actually sustain yourself with ramen noodles and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't bother people.
Don't bring them ramen noodles.
They're disincentivizing investing and saving money.
Exactly. That's the type of people who push the boundaries of humanity forward. I grew up in Soviet Union.
Hang on, Seba, I got to ask. You're Canadian. I'm American, right? So the one thing you Canadians have over us Americans is you can live anywhere and you don't have to pay taxes at the motherland.
Really? I didn't know that.
If I live in Zanzibar, I still have to pay taxes as
son of a bitch.
Don't get excited. It's cold up there.
Why would you choose to reside in the country with higher capital gains taxes than the United States? This is what I don't get.
Well, originally I came here for Emergo, right?
Right.
So that's the original reason I came, and I stayed for my partner at the time, and then we were going to go back to Canada, but then with Corona, that plan got delayed, and then I left Emergo and I was going to start DC Spark. And I was like, okay, do I start DC Spark in Canada or do I start in Japan? And in Japan, I know a bunch of people in the blockchain industry, right? Through Cardano. So I was like, okay, well, if I go to Canada, I'm by myself. If I stay in Japan, I've got a network of people that I can leverage that can work with me. And so I thought, okay, it probably makes sense to stay in Japan, do it here, and have a better shot of trying to get something to happen. But then, as you know, the company kind of went in a different direction, and Nico joined, and Robert Kornacki joined, and then we founded the company in the U.S. Now we have 2 offices, one in Japan, one in the U.S. So now, like, the value of staying in Japan is pretty low. Because I'm here, there's other people in the community here, which is nice, but the core company is no longer in Japan, and I'm paying absolutely insane amounts in taxes, and the bureaucracy in Japan is also absolutely insane. Like, doing anything takes forever. So, I'm seriously considering leaving. I could go back to Canada. I could go to Singapore, which would also be nice. Because, every company wants to have an office in Singapore. But it's hard to run an office without, somebody there. You need somebody there you can trust. Right. And the Singapore's a nice place as well. So that'd also be like a cool option. But I have until the end of the year, I guess, to figure it out. Because for this year, it's already too late. I'm already part of the tax year for Japan, so I'm already fucked. But
well, if you want, there's a lot of opportunity in Africa. We could set you up with a beautiful office in Ghana, and I don't think you'd pay any capital gains.
Yeah, I don't know enough about those countries to make an educated decision on that.
Okay. Well, Jack Dorsey wants to move there. He just announced that.
Really?
Yeah. But actually, levity aside, we moved IOHK to Singapore, so we no longer have a Hong Kong branch. We moved it all to Singapore. Yeah. And so it's a great market to be in. It's a little expensive, but that's where Vitalik has residency and a bunch of other of you crypto Canucks.
Charles, do you think we'll see tax clarity on crypto staking rewards? It's one of the reasons I haven't really lived off of it or cashed out of it, because it's such a nightmare to do. Really, stake pool owners, it's even more complex. But even just for delegators, I have friends of mine who are, in that. And I'm not looking for tax advice. I'm just curious if we're going to see some clarity about staking rewards, because that's going to become a bigger and bigger thing as this develops and other blockchains, adopt proof of stake and similar mechanisms. And it's like, there's no tax clarity on that. They just treat it like Bitcoin mining. And I know there's a lawsuit with Tezos. I follow it pretty closely, but it terrifies me. And some of them want to tax you twice over: income, and then if you don't spend it, capital gains on that income. It's kind of nutty. It's scary. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I am, as a stake pool operator myself, at a slightly larger scale.
Yeah.
Right now dealing with American taxes on staking revenue, just terrifying. Like you guys are, and it's not only terrifying, it's just horrendously expensive and time consuming to basically file a return where you're not 100% sure if the return's even right, despite the fact that you have a tax memo and all these other things. And I can't imagine what it's like for a small.
And the idea that you're supposed to pay on receipt for the creation of new stuff, you know what I mean, which a new property, which is
crazy. Like, if I grow hay, I don't pay
stupid.
taxes while the hay's in the backfield.
Right.
I pay taxes after I've harvested and sold it.
That's right.
And it's just like every other commodity. We
or
deal
art.
With it, or
you
art.
Don't
or
pay
anything.
taxes on art before you sell it.
I know. It's like, well, you've just created that painting, so you've just created some income, for that painting. It's like, but I haven't sold it. Well, that's your problem.
There's
it's
a
like the mafia is shaking you down.
Brush stroke.
No,
so,
I'm having
here's
to
what
deal
we're
with
doing.
this.
Hang on. So here's what we're doing. So I have I'm meeting with several regulators, legislators, state of Wyoming, who also have connections to the federal sphere, and we have engaged with Coin Center and others who are lobbying groups. And what we're going to do is work with the foundation, and hopefully they'll be able to announce at the summit or close to it, like October, November, a lobbying strategy for clarity. And it's not just tax on SPOs. There's also a lot of regulatory things that we have to ask questions on. The whole enchilada. And my hope is to announce that whole strategy there and actual, when we announce it, say, well, there's real money behind it. The foundation actually has $1 billion of assets. And I'm like, guys, you kind of need to spend it. You
got to do some stuff.
So I think they're aligned with that, and they're going to announce their budget and other things at the summit. And part of that will definitely be disclosures and regulatory things and lobbying. And it's not just our problem, as you've mentioned. It's Tezos's, it's Ethereum's problem, it's Polkadot's problem, it's Algorand's problem. So it's an industry-wide problem for more than half of the crypto assets that exist, and it's not going to go away. And the current interpretation from the IRS is absolutely untenable. I've had a bad experience so far with lobbying. We talked to more than a dozen senators when the infrastructure bill came out, and we had the votes for 2/3 to 3/4 of the Senate to put in a very sensible amendment.
Yeah, procedural.
And Shelby, as you saw, ruined that for no reason. So I'm a bit skeptical that through a legislative process, unless there's overwhelming pain and demand, that we're going to get a lot of outcome. But I do believe that there are people within the Treasury Department who are pro-crypto, or at the very least understand it's not a good idea to damage and destroy this industry. And we'll definitely figure that out. Now, there might be some clever hacks we could design using conclave and other things, but I'd rather not go down that road.
I mean, do you think it'll be through lawsuit, like the Tezos lawsuit? Because that's in the courts now. Do you know what I mean? And that could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and then there's a question of, well, what happens if we lose?
Right.
It actually could create case law that it doubles down and legitimizes very bad.
That's what I'm nervous about.
So there's always risk in litigation, and it's the same with this broker definition that they've put into law. I think it's something that can be litigated, but that's a last resort. And I honestly don't have the plan yet.
Charles, I would like to add to that, since currently there are 658 people watching right now. And the most important thing each person can do is write your legislator. If you are a staker, you are the equivalent of a miner, which is a good thing. Write your legislators. The more people they hear from, the more responsive they become. Oh, by the way, if you're in the United States, you need to vote. You need to register to vote. You need to actually vote. And then when you write your legislators, they look at stuff and they go, yeah, that guy's a voter. Okay, maybe we better listen to that one. Maybe. I have gotten responses from all three of my federal reps, 2 senators and a congressman. They weren't exactly what I wanted to hear, but at least the dialogue is open, right? But that's what every person can do. Don't rely on Charles. Don't rely on the Tezos lawsuit. Pick up your stuff and start writing. Email them.
That was when Charles told us to do that. That was the first time I'd ever wrote my elected representatives about anything.
You know, it's never
offer to give them some free space coins.
It's never too early to start. I actually
we make them holders. All we have to do. We've got to offer to teach them, like Rick, like what you did. You were offering to teach. You were offering to go in and do PowerPoints for these guys.
Yeah,
like however we've got to do it on.
I told Bobby Scott's staff, I said, I'll come in and teach you how it works. If you write legislation, you can send it to me and I will check it for technical correctness. I'm not a lawyer, not a financial advisor, but I can at least look at the words and make sure you don't step on your dick. Of course, I didn't write that like that in the email, but so I got a response, like, it wasn't a copy and paste. I used to write to my legislators and I'd get a copy and paste, kind of like what you get from Google, right? But these were not copy and paste responses. These were thoughtful, customized. He must have had a really good staffer write that. It was pretty good.
Here's a big one for a different regulatory section. My next door neighbor, he started off as like the special assistant to Governor Rockefeller in West Virginia, and then he became the insurance commissioner, and then he kept going up and up and up, and eventually became the insurance commissioner internationally, head of the entire, global insurance regulatory body. And he, I've been talking to him about Cardano, and now he's all in on it. He said that this is like the most exciting thing, so he's getting really
education.
He's getting really into it. So he's he's holding Cardano now. And I was talking with him about, he's interested in trying to figure out how to design regulation that would be most agreeable across the entire planet.
Awesome.
one thing I thought that was interesting that he said, and it wasn't what I expected. He said that insurance regulators' greatest concern is money laundering. That's what they care about the most. I would have thought it would have been fraud or something like that, but no, they're concerned about money laundering.
Yeah, that's why they're going after DeFi. That's why they hate that. They're fine with Bitcoin because it is a pet rock.
You know, the number one thing that's money laundering right now in the
Cash.
cryptocurrency space. Do you guys know what's the number one thing that people are using to launder money?
NFTs.
Yes, NFTs. That's why we
I've
have
done my
such crazy
homework.
valuations.
Yes. Yeah, because it's the digital version of how they used to launder money in the old world. Yeah, I know. I had my buddy text me. He's like, "Hey, you know, NFTs are laundering." I said, "Yeah, no shit."
Wait,
Speaking of disappointments,
I'm just curious. How is it laundering as opposed to collectibles? Like, it's a different category. Like, there's collectible NFTs, and then there's laundering, or is it when people put it into the
What's the buyer? There's an arrangement between the buyer and seller. The buyer and seller is just an arrangement.
Oh,
Yes.
it's the same guy. So, okay, I made
That's how you
NFT
launder.
and I just sold it.
Well, no. If I was trying, same guy or same arrangement. Like if I were to move money through you or whatever, like you're on the other end or something, or maybe I'm in a whole shit ton, and there's also theft. Like people keep like the good ones. Or whatever.
Yeah, because there's no KYC and AML done on purchasers. You can self-deal. So you can create an NFT and it costs you nothing to create it. Then you sell it to some random person over the internet and they give you $2 million for it. And you say, wow, how lucky was I to sell this picture of a rock for $2 million? Oh my God, this is amazing. And that $2 million came from like Monero or Bitcoin or other things.
Do you think that's part of the big reason for the bubble? Part of it, at least, is the money laundering.
Oh,
or is it small?
I've been through 5 collapses in this space, guys. I'm a
just curious. Just curious.
The hype.
Yeah. Can you imagine Breaking Bad made in the day of cryptocurrency? You know, Heisenberg, you know?
Nobody liked my
It's like when
nobody
people
liked
steal
my
cars.
meme.
People steal cars during rush hour when a whole bunch of other shit's going on. So the hype, it creates a whole bunch of room for shit to happen.
Right.
Cash is still the preferred method for committing crimes.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
It is.
And in the email I got back from Mark Warner, from Senator Mark Warner, and everything he listed in that email about what he's trying to prevent, I'm like, dude, everything you just described is done with cash on orders of magnitude, like 1 million times more of those crimes are committed with cash, except for one thing. He mentioned ransomware. And I thought, well, okay, if you want to shut down crypto because of you think ransomware is a problem, well, you shut down computers, shut down the internet. It's like bank robbers use cars, so we're going to make cars illegal. Bank robbers steal cash. Why don't you make the cash illegal? So if they're going to, if you're going to hit up crypto about ransomware, we'll hit up the banks about cash, because that's the only reason people rob banks, because there's cash in it. Isn't it retarded sometimes?
Wasn't there an analysis done that it's a very small percentage, and it's getting smaller as the tools become more sophisticated to track this stuff? It's very small, and I think they just need to be educated on that.
No, I mean it's the dumbest thing you could do with the cryptocurrency is to do illegal things. This guy who stole 600 million, he did not know what to do with it, because the moment he stole it, it's already tainted. Anywhere it goes, it will be traced. So you might as well not steal it, or do something nefarious with it, right? So I think it's superior to cash in terms of tracking things, and the criminals wouldn't use it, because you'd be the dumbest person to do it. I think 2 federal agents did something like that back in the day. If you remember the story, they tried to steal some Bitcoin and then they got caught because they didn't know that they could be traced, and time and space and time time stamping and all that. But to your point, Rick, I wonder how much we spend, as part of our budget in the United States to actually clamp down on counterfeits, U.S. dollar counterfeits, right? The Secret Service actually has a mandate to go, I think I saw the documentary that describes their work in Latin America. They just go to these very sophisticated, counterfeit shops, then close them down. And I think to myself, wouldn't that be much easier to actually create a digital dollar on a decentralized network? I mean, to a degree, it actually exists in the form of USDC, but I can't help but think that, it would be much cheaper to have a digital dollar.
Well, it's coming either way.
Yeah, actually, that's why the Secret Service was created. It was the anti-counterfeiting branch of the U.S.
Really?
government, and they kind of tacked on protecting the president as like an additional duty. But their
I did not know that. Okay.
Anti-counterfeiting.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and it was created right around the same time we started making paper money. Go figure. It's like, oh yeah, now that
printing press,
yeah,
printing money, yeah.
And now that we can just print money out of thin air, maybe we should prevent other people from doing that and maintain our money printing monopoly.
Now that we can make
print
crypto
gold out of thin air, now can you?
And now that we've made crypto, they need to have the fiat equivalent. The same deal, and they need to track and trace it. And I mean, that's the whole point of Cardano, though, because it's either like they make these systems, right, and it tracks and traces everything we do, and it's draconian, or we have something where fairness is built into the code itself, right?
The hearing, in the hearing that Senator Warner pointed me to and said, hey, I made my comments over at this hearing. It was called the Building a Stronger Financial System Opportunities of a Central Bank Digital Currency. So they're actually taking the current stuff where we're talking about these court cases with Tezos legislating staking. I read that case, Ed. I know what you're talking about there. I read that case. And they're trying to say, oh, well, this is a good case for central bank digital currency. So I guess they're doing it.
That's why I'm a little nervous about it.
Well, hopefully they, I don't know. Hopefully they pick the right system. A system that was, I hope they pick a system that was peer reviewed and properly researched, designed correctly, and not just a bunch of Mountain Dew and pizza late at night.
I doubt it.
And slapped together.
I doubt it.
I mean, I would hope with NSA they would have capabilities to build a proper cryptographic sort of network that would house a digital dollar. Now,
oh no, they're just going to run it on Cardano.
I mean, that's what I was going to say.
What are we all saying here? This is a big day, right? Of course they're going to run it on Cardano.
The other countries would. The other countries.
They're going to tease us a little bit and kind of keep it suspenseful, but we all know how it's going to end. Cardano eats the world.
That's right.
I have no doubt about that.
I've seen Kevin Hammond's dry erase board. Kevin Hammond has it written on his whiteboard.
Yeah, take over the world.
If we're successful, they'll at least have to contribute with them based on what we're doing in Africa, right? They'll have to deal with Africa's version of their CBDCs that are issued on Cardano.
I would absolutely believe it goes on Cardano, except for the fact that our government loves to waste money on things. So
I don't think they can help it. There's so much bureaucracy in there.
Hey, Charles, I had a quick question for you. I actually grappled with this idea of building a sort of a digital CBDC or whatever CBDC version of it on Cardano. How do you think this is going to happen? Let's say that the head of state in country X calls you one day and says, "Hey, I want to build this stuff on Cardano." What kind of levers do they get, and how do you think it's going to get built?
I mean, it's an open network, so they have to build it. We build it like any other dApp developer would. That's the point of egalitarianism, is that Bill Gates and the country of America, they don't get this. They get the same access as the farmer in Senegal. You don't change the protocol for them. You don't change the rules for them. Now, we might do a high assurance contract where we write the code more carefully and we put some layer 2 stuff for them to ensure it can scale, or maybe we build some bespoke white labeled wallet or something like that. But the underlying protocol doesn't change and the underlying code doesn't change or any of these things. And what's really beautiful is we always try to push these deals as open source. And so as a consequence, that means all that code that's deployed, all those things that run, everybody who's a developer on Cardano gets to see, and they get to play with, and they get to enjoy like everyone else. And so if you think about that, that's basically like unheard of. You don't get to see how the NSA builds one of the world's largest data centers in Bluffdale, Utah. You don't get to see how the Pentagon works, or like the State Department does all of its diplomatic cables or these things. All that stuff is hidden from you. And they spent billions and billions of dollars and millions of man hours of effort to build a system at a scale like that. But the next generation systems in 5 or 10 years, all those systems will be somewhat transparent and open. And those design patterns and architectures and tooling will probably be mostly open source and available for you guys as you build your application, which is just an extraordinary concept.
All you gotta
That's
do
what
is
I
write
love
the country,
about.
right?
That's what I love about crypto, the transparency and the fact that, I mean, before coming to Cardano, I actually looked into many different kinds of coins, and everything was kind of convoluted. And I really like the idea of Ethereum, but the fact that IOHK published everything openly, where you could learn the fundamental concepts behind all of these networks, you know, the hashes of the world, the blockchains, how they are linked to each other, the cryptographic sort of, primitives and all that. It's really done an enormous, benefit. It's created a lot of benefit to humanity. And I think I really applaud the IOHK's, basically effort to do that. But do you think these let's say country X creates a digital version of their currency? Do you think in your mind it's going to exist as a token? Will the country X have 100%, I guess, power over the inflation and all that? Or
no, I mean, we're done with bad money. We're done with bad systems, guys. We're going to move on. That's why we created DGED. It's a foundation, and on one side you can have crypto assets, and they can be anything: wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ether, ADA. And on the other side, you can create an inflation-resistant, relatively stable purchasing thing. So you know what? We're going to have CBDCs in 3 to 5 years, in my view, in that model. And then once those things are running, people are like, why the fuck would I want money in my pocket where the government can go and just print it unlimited amounts out of thin air with no restraint and be utterly irresponsible? I mean, I saw Joe Manchin today on CNN, and he's like, I don't think we should spend another $3.5 trillion without at least slowing down a bit to think it through. And these journalist was like, oh, how dare you? How dare you be an obstructionist for the agenda? Yeah, but we've already spent $5.4 trillion. Lord Almighty, it's getting a little crazy.
Most of which is just fat and pork. I do declare, good sir.
I mean, it's like, what are we doing? They had a Biden administration official out, and he's like, well, inflation's not so bad for groceries as long as you exclude the price of
I saw that. Chicken. How gross.
It's like saying, look, honey, our marriage is great as long as you exclude the domestic violence, the affairs, and the occasional gambling.
The local family restaurant that I go to, they said that their cooking oil has 4 to 5 times X'd very recently, and that they can barely stay afloat because their cheese and their cooking oil and most of their other ingredients are expensive. And then they can't afford to hire anybody as well because everyone's staying, or they were staying home to get the extra unemployment money. It's horrible.
I'd love to ask a question.
I think the government's going to try to build their own.
Let's let our man here get a question.
Go for it, Fletcher. What's up, buddy?
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
first, I want to. Hello, Rick. Thank you very much for having me.
Go for number one, buddy.
Share some space with you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Also, thank you to the Cardano Foundation for the delegation to Carpool. That's just been tremendous, and we're loving the opportunity to introduce ourselves more and more to the community and take full advantage of that. So thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Have a question though. In part of our approach in reaching out to community investors, small businesses, more and more people as we're continuing to build those relationships. A common fear that has been brought up, I guess, more so than some others that I'd be curious to hear input. And not every day you get a group like this together, so I'd love to hear how you might respond to this. In terms of, when they hear what we're talking about, what Cardano has to offer, they see the promise, they get it. And then they also have some sense of how the economy in its current state. And then they wrestle with this question of, okay, so I put this investment in, and then the market tanks. What makes Cardano capable of holding its value much more than, say, something else? And I have a few explanations that I think have somewhat helped allay some of that or fill some of that gap, but I would love to hear from this group of thinkers. How would you approach that answer?
That's the wrong way of looking at it, of like what makes it hold its value. I mean, if the whole point is to reinvent the notion of money, we got to stop thinking about Cardano's price in terms of the US dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, no one in Greece is like, okay, let's go to lunch. And they look and it's €3 for a euros. And they say, oh, well, I can't do that. I don't have the $5 to exchange that. I mean, no, they have euros, right? They have this notion of intrinsic value within their spending domain. We have to keep asking, at what point will Cardano become a circular self-sustaining economy where you never actually have to leave it? All your value wealth is there. And then you say, well, what allows you to hold value? You say, well, there's going to be DeFi instruments that if your goal is value appreciation or value stability, they exist there. And there'll be instruments in the ecosystem where if your goal is a computational fuel, they'll be there. And there'll be other instruments that are for governance, control, and self-regulation of the system. Okay. And they all coexist, and you have a portfolio as opposed to just one. That's really where we need to go. And we're experimenting with that with the deployment of DGED. If that's successful, then that can eventually become a protocol level stablecoin. And then you can actually have an instrument within Cardano where if you're concerned about where the markets are at, you can convert it over and then have something that's relatively pegged to something you're more comfortable with, like the US dollar. These are the kinds of conversations that come up in the next roadmap, Cardano 2025. Cardano 2020, that's about Byron and Shelley and Goguen and Basho and Voltaire. That's enough for a foundation to have a community of millions to tens of millions start a conversation of where do you want to go in 5 years, 10 years. And what we've done is we've constructed so much raw capability that now we have the money and the talent and the companies to field thousands to tens of thousands of scientists and engineers towards whatever end that ecosystem wants to go in. That's a superpower that no other ecosystem really has at this scale. And then you ask yourself, well, what can we achieve with 10,000 people, engineers, PhDs, and other people floating around all around the world? What could we achieve with 100,000? What could we achieve with 1 million, and so forth? And then if there's a strong demand for a particular instrument, whether it's value appreciation or value stability, those instruments will appear inside the system. And then you just tell the people, do that. Then in terms of making a closed economy, you actually have to get it done. So I'm going to Kenya, for example, and I'm meeting with a partner there called Possessia, and they do microfinance. And so we're going to get a $150,000 microfinance loan done this year. Then next year, we're going to do a blockchain-based microfinance loan. And we're going to compare the non-performing loan, the NPL rate of the legacy loan to the new loan that uses DIDs and blockchain-based identity. And we're going to see which one has a higher NPL. And then our hope is that over time, we can construct proper products there. Well, that thing they'll be lent will be probably a stable coin. And if there's cash in, cash out points, as we see in El Salvador with Chivo, then people will just use the stable coin and treat it like they do money. And they'll never actually go into the local currency. They'll just basically use that for transactions and purchases. And merchants will accept that for products and services. And then you create a closed loop economy in that effect. That's what we're seeking to do in the next 3 to 5 years. And if we continue growing at this rate, I think we could definitely get to that scale and achieve that. Now, as for the macro, these markets go up, markets go down. As I've mentioned at the beginning of the call, I've been through 5 collapses. It's been brutal. And I remember when Cardano went all the way down from $1.50 to 3 cents. And what was so frustrating about that is it was completely disconnected from fundamentals. We were a stronger project with a larger, better community at 3 cents than we were at $1.50. We have no control over any of that. And, what's so disheartening is when you accomplish all these things to get a congratulations from somebody over Twitter or from Telegram, and they're not congratulating you for the launch of Goguen. They're congratulating
how much money you made.
Arbitrary price point. Oh, you've changed my life. I hit this arbitrary price point. It's like, oh, you've missed the entire point of my life's work. Oh God.
I mean, it's a big deal for them. You know what it's like to go from nothing to something,
And honestly,
but there's a side effect. There's a side effect. There really is, because there's some of us that showed up and showed up to do this every day. And I mean, you did. I have the ability to do this every day now. So I mean, for that regard, I mean, it's not like I'm just happy I got fucking money, but now I can come and I can whoop ass without having to go do some weird shit to feed my family. So
right, to Fletcher's concern, I would say like the shorthand version of what Charles just said. It's the difference between a cryptocurrency and an operating system. I've seen every video Charles has ever produced, like a serial killer. I've listened to every speech, and I could recite it. And it's the difference between a coin, like just a cryptocurrency, right? It goes up, it goes down, and an operating system that allows it to do whatever you want it to do. And then you get into his talk about the different financial instruments that allow them to protect their money.
And the biggest, most important thing to realize, the overall macro view, is the fact that we're digitizing all value right now. And we have just started to digitize all value. And so we've reached the small scale of like, $2.5 trillion plus, whatever it is. But it's so large now, it's organically just going to continue at this point. And now we have to look forward to 400 plus trillion moving in. So really, when you talk to those individuals that are asking those questions, it's just because they don't understand where they are in the space. We are at the inception of transitioning from an old financial system to a better digital financial system. And that's really all they need to worry about. Just hang tight, because it's coming, and it's going to be big.
That's what I appreciate about having this opportunity to sort of pose the question and hear it here. Is what I'm hearing reflected back is, I mean, not in, in various ways, is I kind of ask them and invite them, if they're willing to sort of follow this through. Let's follow this thought through. Let's do a little bit of a thought experiment and essentially walk through very much of these same things that are being reflected back, which I just appreciate hearing, knowing that, sometimes we're not all surrounded by each other every day. So allaying that and kind of helping to bridge that worldview, this paradigm shift, in essence.
A lot of it's just about education.
What we're building.
Yeah.
All education.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to just have to say this. Before getting into crypto, I was a banker, and I used to travel around the world, Mongolia, Central Asia, Russia. I used to do a lot of deals. And one of the things that strikes me, especially in Mongolia, was the sheep herders, right? They don't care about the value of their sheep.
No.
Right? Because they know that this is their asset. Well, you could kind of, think about these networks the same way. You can if you see the potential, if you have done the due diligence and see the potential of it, you don't care about the price. The price, actually, it has been proven in the financial markets. The more of it you have, the more often you look at it, the more detrimental it is to your investment decisions. So they have made comparisons between the stock prices that you get instant pricing and private equity. The reason private equity is doing well is because you don't see what goes on between large periods of time. So what I'm trying to say is that if you see the price every day, and if you don't know what you're buying, you will probably make a mistake. Right. But if you know that you have sheep, quote unquote, and that sheep is valuable, you don't care, because in the long run, you know that this is an asset that you could anytime convert into any currency you want and do whatever you want.
Hang on, just to interrupt real quickly. Roman Pellerin, the CTO of IO Global's here. And actually, I think you have a special announcement about the Polymarket contract.
Hey.
Do I have an announcement? Yes.
Yeah, I just got a message from Kevin Hammond. It looks like he successfully deployed it.
So you have an announcement there. Yeah, well, obviously we have a smart contract language, and obviously it's before the October 1st deadline. So, but yeah, beyond the cryptocurrency that we all talk about, I think Cardano is a network of people. And so when you launch programmability, you can then implement whatever workflow or process between people. So for example, moving from France to the US and having your health record following you, right? It's not the case for me. Here, I'm in the US, I'm a newborn, no health record, right? I went to my doctor and they said, you don't have a health record. No, I'm French for sure. But I have history. So blockchain can definitely help in this process of globalization from that we are in. We just, it's not a random technology, it's just a technology for its own age, purpose, We are globalizing this world, so we need to go beyond the classical frontiers.
Hey, bonjour, Romain. Glad to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit more? This was kind of a big announcement that just popped up, and I think people are going to be curious to hear more about it.
Yeah.
What is the poly market thing that Kevin Hammond just deployed?
I just showing that we have smart contract before October 1st.
Oh, okay.
Because so we read the specifics on the poly market challenge, and Kevin actually wrote a smart contract to satisfy those specifics. And we just deployed it like literally 40 minutes ago. And so I just tweeted at Polymarket, like, you guys got to pay up now, you know.
Specifics which have changed.
I remember that.
Nice.
Was that like 50 grand?
That's funny.
No.
Oh yeah, we got to tweet at Weiss now, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna be great. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just tweeted Kevin's contract, so you guys can, if you look at my Twitter feed, you can see the contract.
Okay. I was wondering because I saw this. I've been monitoring Pool Tool and Cardano Scan, and I don't know what this is at Cardano Scan. This is blockchain contract transaction. So if you go to Cardano Scan, blockchain contract transactions, there's this thing. I don't know what it is, but there it is. And I saw these about, how long ago? It was about 2 hours ago. Contract transactions started showing up on here, but I'm not sure what that is or if it's related. And also
beautiful
good news,
thing.
we're at 92% upgrades.
Ooh, that's fast.
There's a big jump. I think DB Sync did a quick catch up, and we're at 95%. The raindrops aren't quite as angry, so the network is looking fantastic. Chain density is at 5.1%. And we just had some great news. It sounds like Kevin Hammond just deployed some sort of poly market related smart contract.
There's going to be a lot of trolling in the next few days. My goodness.
Well, you know, they have to give $50,000 to the North American Marlon Brando Lookalike Association.
Oh,
Deal.
NAMBLA.
Deal.
I mean, there's no other NAMBLA out there that I know of, right? Thank you, South Park. Anyway, I'm sure we'll find a nice charity for them to donate to, and it's all in good fun, right? This shows you the need for interoperability. So we have DIDs, and right now DIDs are for people. Well, DIDs are for smart contracts, and actually, Rick answering the question that you just asked of, well, I don't know what this one is for. Well, once you have DIDs, you'll have transitivity there. You say, oh, that's associated with this particular DApp and this author. NFTs can also be used this way. So, like all the concurrency patterns, a lot of them are involving the use of NFTs for managing concurrency and pattern and the other things. So we have some documentation for that. You guys are really going to enjoy it. And, you know, I know that DC Spark is going to be bringing a lot of really cool, sexy things to the table here and probably the next 60 to 90 days, at least in beta. And that'll expand the computing model. You know, we built Cardano with this idea of a settlement layer and control layers or computation layers. And that means if you disagree with, you know, our counting choices or how we design the language, well, you can build your own and you can run those things, and they can run in parallel with the main system, and ADA can be used for both potentially. So that's just great for interoperability, extensibility, and modularity, as well as this concept of bulkheading, where, you know, if there's a particular model that has trade-offs you're not super comfortable with, they only live in that sidechain. They don't actually cascade into the main system. And so the base level, we played it very safe, and it's quite conservative. And over time, it'll get less conservative as the theory improves. So you get more expressiveness and ease of development with that. A lot of like syntactic sugar kind of a notion. But then the extended layers, you can go wild crazy with those. You can have very risky, dangerous things that are fun and exciting and very experimental. And all of that's coming in 2022. So that's going to be a very fun year to see us kind of be like the Borg and go assimilate things as we come along, and just enjoy to see what those communities bring to the ecosystem. So, Seba, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, so we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, you know, during the summit, and including DC Spark. So I'm excited for that. On DC Spark side, you know, the main thing that we're focusing on right now is bridging, and that's what the Mill Common Protocol is for. So, you know, one of the things that we've always had in the Cardano roadmap is trying to support more than just the EU TXO model. Because the EU TXO model is great. There's a bunch of advantages to it. But also, you know, just like some people have some use cases for Haskell, some people also want write stuff in non-functional programming languages. And so it makes sense to, give multiple options for everybody who has, different use cases. And so that's why that's always been part of the Cardano roadmap. But, we've never had, a real way to connect, this Solidity smart contracts with the Cardano main chain. We've had, work being done on this. For example, the work with runtime verification on KVM and Yella. And so there's work on, what we want to deploy. But when it came to actually connecting it to the Cardano blockchain, this has always been kind of a research phase. We had the NEPA Powell papers, you had the proof of stake sidechain papers, and those are still ongoing. There's still more research being done on these kinds of trustless bridge. But now that we have, smart contracts live on mainnets, we have to, also do the research, but also, start deploying stuff. We can't just be waiting for the research to finish before deploying stuff. And so that's what kind of a Melcomeda is supposed to be. And that's what we're hoping to deploy, this year. It's going to be kind of a beta of the system where it's going to say, look, there's a bunch of research going on at HK, which, will make stuff a lot better. There's a bunch of work that we can do on the engineering side to make stuff a lot better. But we think that with the core functionality we have in Cardano right now, we can start, releasing stuff and build kind of a first version. And so that's what Melcomeda version 1 is for, to bring basically, this basic Solidity smart contract capability through a sidechain. In the future, we hope to support more chains as well. And, we can obviously extend this as well to other programming languages. Like, for example, Yella and KVM, it would be great to deploy on Melcomeda as well. And so, this is a great way to kind of get a first version out there and then start iterating on that and kind of grow to not just, Solidity, not just Plutus, but also, grow to encompass kind of all programming languages that we want to support, which is kind of like the grand vision that we had in Cardano in the first place.
So what time is it on your side? Like,
it's 8:57. Yeah, unfortunately, the epoch transitions are at 6 a.m. every time, so I always have to wake up early. But that's part of life.
Yeah. Hey, there was a couple of audience questions, but I do want to point this out kind of early in the game here because the contract thing, another smart contract thing just executed, and I realized if you click on the link, I just want to make sure the viewers know this. You click on the link, you can see the smart contract that executed that transaction. So right now there's 19 smart contract transactions on the Cardano blockchain, and it has the details down here that people like Sebastian probably understand, that I certainly don't understand, but it's there.
It's beautiful to see after all these years.
Yeah, and so
great explorer actually, Cardano Scan for smart contracts.
What's that?
It's a great explorer, Cardano Scan for smart contracts actually.
Yeah. Yep, and it is a great explorer because even though I only relatively understand what a datum hash and the datum is, at least it has enough information there where you can look it up. I wonder where this will take me. Oh, lobster counter, lobster votes. Oh, someone deployed a lobster counter with lobster votes. All right, cool. I'll take that. I guess they're trying to name Larry the Lobster there.
Now we need the octopus, right? Charles's octopus.
Yeah.
This already has a name. This is Happapus.
There we go.
He's Satipus. By the way, people are collecting them now.
I believe it.
I
believe it. They're going to NFT every single thing in Charles's background, in his house, in his office, the amount of hair on his face. Like, they're going to NFT everything about this man.
And they're going to be worth a lot too.
They're going to be worth a lot.
They're going to go into that freaking lottery that's going on over there.
I'm going to be the guy in 10 years. It's like, man, why didn't I buy that?
Yeah.
Why didn't I buy Charles's glasses NFT?
Yeah.
This is my retirement plan, guys. I'm going to NFT everything in my office, and then I'll have lobster money. And I'm just like, screw you guys. I got lobster money. I can go home now.
Lobster money. That's it.
Bars of lobster.
Charles will never retire.
He'll NFT each one of his bison, his animals, everything.
Oh, we're already doing that for Crypto Bison.
I figured you're doing that. Yeah.
Everything must go. I'm the Tuvalu of people.
Everything must be commodified.
Hey guys, we got 1,300 watching now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that jumped really quick.
Thanks, Charles.
Wow.
Yeah, I just tweeted.
Good.
You put out a tweet. Yeah,
Charles,
I liked it.
This is my first time on YouTube, so this is quite a first.
Yeah. Hey, there was a question from Steve S. And Sebastian might know this one, but I don't know. Steve S. asked, how hard will it be to move in between these layers, layer 1, layer 2. As an average user, if you get a chance, wrapping assets in Ethereum is a huge pain. So what they're asking is, how difficult is it to wrap assets?
Yeah, so the main problem with wrapping assets from a user experience perspective is just the time, right? So one of the big pain points on Ethereum is that as you wrap assets to go on layer 2s, you have to wait quite a while for it to be finalized and appear on the other chain. Now we are working on multiple ways to mitigate this with our project with Goguen Era. There's two kind of main ways that we want to do this. One of them is a project that we're working on called the Multiverse. And basically what that is that when you're using the Goguen Era protocol, you'll not only be scanning the Cardano mainnet, the main chain, but you'll also be looking at all the possible forks that are happening in the moment and tracking all of them. And then you'll see if your transactions included not just in the largest chain, but also in any competing forks. And if your transaction include in all forks, then you have a higher assurance that it won't get rolled back. And I know that sounds like super complicated. It's like a super complicated explanation. But if you want to go even more complicated, if you read the Ouroboros paper, there's two kind of ways you can attack a network. There's like a publicly visible attack and a covert attack. So you try and covertly attack a network. So basically attack a network without anybody realizing you're attacking the network. The amount of stake required is actually higher. So you need to have more stake to be able to perform such an attack. And so the idea that we have is that, okay, well, since covert attacks are extremely hard on a network like Cardano because the stake is so well distributed, anybody that could try and attack a dApp would probably have to do it in overway, or people are aware that they're building a fork to attack a dApp. And so we can leverage this fact with our multiverse proposal and say, okay, because of this fact, if people are attacking the network, we can, detect, basically any possible attack as it's happening, and detect if the attack is targeting the specific dApp you're trying to use, in this case, the Goguen Era bridge. And if it is, then you can tell users like, sorry, you can't use the sidechain yet because, it looks like this transaction may be rolled back. So you're just gonna have to wait longer for it to kind of settle out, and it will eventually go through. But if we look and if there's no attack going, we can settle right away. And if there's an attack going, but it's not targeting your specific transaction, we can go right away. And so this will make, not only our bridge faster, this is like generic infrastructure that any dApp on Cardano will be able to reuse. And so, that'll just make the dApp experience on Cardano much better. Now, the other thing about Goguen Era is that we're bridging to a sidechain, not to Ethereum mainnet. And so, one of the factors of how fast you can use bridges is just how fast the chains are. And so Cardano is fairly fast. The sidechain is fairly fast. So it's also kind of mitigated that way.
What's your estimate in terms of time to wrap?
So this is kind of a hard part because how long it takes to wrap assets depends on how much of the network you assume is adversarial. So it's more of like a graph. You say like, okay, assuming 10% of the network is adversarial, how long would it take? And it's also tricky because the Ouroboros papers don't make it easy to come up with these estimates, especially because we're not in Genesis yet. So Ouroboros Genesis will come in the future. And then, with peer-to-peer networking, that might change network topology. So we have, people working on this problem to try and get better estimates. We have some internal estimates now, but this is something that we'll probably want to, get a more final number instead of giving a guess now and changing it later.
Well, I got some good news about Genesis. There's a very strong possibility Genesis is going to come this year or very early next year. It just depends on how the release cycle comes. Wow. We've had 2 people working on Genesis for over 6 months, and Genesis was always a relatively minor upgrade compared to going from OBFT to Prouse. And so I'm very optimistic that that'll be there. Second, we're working with Galois, and they're doing some phenomenal work on the implementation of Mithril, because it's not just about saying, well, can I have a sidechain transaction where I can move assets or information from one chain to the other chain. It's also about saying, do I have a proof that can come along with the transaction that gives me some certainty that what I'm being told is right without trusting an oracle. So you can always, with a light wallet, trust the server and say, well, I trust Seba. He's a good guy. Well, that's true, but what if people get hacked or something like that? And that has happened in the past, and we've even seen issues like with Thorchain and so forth. So it's important to layer trust models and put in cryptographic primitives that also allow the user to have a say in that and give them some more certainty about the history they're looking at is correct. So Mithril is all about that right now on the main chain. But one of the things we're doing is extending the Mithril protocol into the EVM, into Yella, so that can be reused as a primitive for everybody. We're writing a Rust library with Galois, and we're writing a network protocol right now for the SPOs to run as kind of a layer 2 protocol to build Mithril certificates off chain, and then commit them on chain once they've been manufactured, or else it'd be a pretty bloaty affair. So that work is coming along very quickly, and it's a high priority thing because we understand there's going to be a very, when Goguen is going to be replaced with when sidechain. And so there, all these sidechain vendors are thinking about that. There's also a question about communication between chains. And so a pub sub model has been something that I've been wanting to have for fucking forever. When you delegate to somebody, you should be able to subscribe to them. When you're using a DApp, you should be able to subscribe to that and get news pushed through. Well, that's a cross-chain affair. And there are some designs of cross-chain pub sub, like Fabric wrote a paper, the IBM guys, about how to do this. And it would be nice to create interoperability standard along with these bridge protocols. So
yeah, and
go ahead.
And one thing we've been doing on this is actually one of the things, the projects we're involved in as DC Spark is a project called Erbit, which is kind of a decentralized compute layer with built-in identity and messaging solutions. And some projects on Ethereum have actually, started trying to leverage this technology. And we think there's kind of space in here to leverage this kind of protocol also for kind of off-chain solutions for, smart contracts. Obviously, this is not the only project in the space. There's a bunch of other projects that try and tackle this kind of off-chain messaging, off-chain compute in different ways. But we think this one is a project that's advancing fairly well. And so we're also kind of working with that. And we hope that, as we're advancing this Erbit ecosystem, we can eventually tie this back in to any smart contracts we develop for Cardano.
Erbit's been around for a while, by the way. I think I first heard about it in like 2014.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There will be a network between SPOs. So it's a bit weird to say that because we have the Cardano network, right? So all SPOs are already in a network, right? But every time we want to create a sidechain or create Mithril, etc., the first question is, okay, how can we actually exchange messages between the SPOs, right? Which makes no sense. So at a certain point, we'll definitely look at how to integrate some sort of pub sub, mechanism in the node implementation, so we can relay some sort of messages between the SPOs, other than the transactions and block, which are the two mini protocols of Cardano.
By the way, I got to get going, but there is a question in the chat. They asked when peer-to-peer this year. So Genesis and peer-to-peer are very optimistic, are the next things coming out. And long overdue. Cool. We've done an enormous amount of testing. You guys have participated in that testing. That's one of the very few upgrades that you have to be super careful with because it actually legitimately could shatter the network if it's done wrong. So you don't gain a huge amount outside of true decentralization, but then there's a huge potential risk. And so we've been burning that for about 9 months. But I think the assurance level and the development levels at a point where that's going to be a very comfortable rollout. Duncan's actually going on paternity leave, I think, in October. And so I'd like to actually get it out before he leaves, or else. Was that?
End of November.
End of November. Oh, okay. Well, then I'd like to get out before he leaves. That's a high priority for him because he was the architect of the peer-to-peer system. The other thing is that there were actually several major scientific advancements that were made as a consequence of Cardano's network stack. And we did it in a weird way where we actually wrote the code and then we're going back and writing the papers. Usually we write the papers and then we write the code. So we're going to have a congestion control peer-to-peer paper that comes out that kind of explains why Cardano's peer-to-peer is a lot better than Secure Kademlia or these other systems that exist. And then it's an interesting exercise of how are we going to abstract that and potentially make that network more like a library that can be used for sidechains and other things. Because the odds are a lot of these sidechains, especially EVM sidechains, will use the Ethereum network protocol instead of the Cardano network protocol. So we'll have in 2022 this strange reality where you have two different network protocols running at the layer one. The bridges will make sure that there's no problem there, but you lose some of the security guarantees when you leave the pure, beautiful's Cardano world and you enter the ugly, secure Kademlia Ethereum world. And that makes me kind of sad panda. So we'll get all that sorted out, especially given that you have trusted actors or known actors. A lot of these network protocols are built where they run under a very pessimistic asynchronous assumption. But when you have stake pools and all these other things and a lot of actors that are 24/7, if you notice that the network is running in an optimal state, then you should just accelerate the protocols until proven otherwise. And that's not trivial. And in a lot of cases, you can get a 10x or 100x in performance for a bunch of things, from throughput to network relay. So Omega, the Ouroboros Omega research, this is being built in tandem with that concept of accelerating the engine of the system under optimal conditions. And there's a whole stream of network research that's happening for congestion control and acceleration and so forth. And those protocols, I think, will be built co-evolve together as they come out.
Yeah, I saw the paper. I guess it was the initial or network specification that said there was the pros and cons of Kademlia, Poltercast, and there was a third one in there. I don't remember what it is, but as I was reading through that, I thought, wow, if they actually build this P2P, that could revolutionize peer-to-peer industry in other areas where someone could take that code and plug it in and say, hey, I need a peer-to-peer network that does something, passes chat messages or whatever, and they could plug that in and it would provide that service better than pretty much anything else. Anyway, I saw a paper in there somewhere. I spent a little bit of time messing around on the IOHK research website, just a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And so this year P2P, huh? All right, cool.
Oh yeah, Genesis and P2P, and then all next year we can just simply focus on optimization and performance improvement. Mithril opens up the possibility of parallel epic validation, so you can go multi-core with Daedalus, which would be
very cool,
exponential speed up. And then also what we're going to start doing is performance targets. So every quarter we're going to see if we can improve a collection of things like sync time and other such things to ensure that performance improves, because we've been over focused on correctness because these are new protocols, and there's enormous opportunity to go back through them with performance engineers and make them a lot faster by just doing a lot of clever things. But you don't really want to do that until you're very comfortable with the base design and there's some solidity in that design. And now that Genesis and peer-to-peer are kind of the last two layer one components for this agenda, I feel very comfortable with the idea that we can optimize quite considerably. So that's what you're looking forward to on the Shelley related work and the Byron related work and the Goguen related work next year. The other thing is unfinished business for me is proxy keys and partial delegation. So in the design of proxy keys, I think we can easily make partial delegation happen. So what are proxy keys concisely are a separate key chain for voting and for staking that are derived from a different set of mnemonics. And then the idea here is that you separate your infrastructure. So you have cold infrastructure and hot infrastructure. What you do is you would assign voting and staking rights to those proxy keys via transaction. You import that transaction to Daedalus or Uroi or whatever your interface is for the proxy key, and then the proxy key can in turn redelegate or vote. Now, the advantage of this system is that you can put different ledger rules for proxy keys, like partial delegation at the base level and all kinds of things to make that an easy engineering solution. The other thing is that you can break linkability between the proxy key and the underlying key using snarks. So there's a very good privacy angle about obscuring where staking is coming from, because right now that's a huge concern of people where they're saying, well, basically people can figure out, and some people say that's good for the transparency of the system, but at the end of the day, it is a little problematic for institutional government adoption. There's actually been some small governments and institutions that said, well, we would be happy to stake, but we don't want to publicly declare that. But is there any way we can obscure that? We're like, well, not now. And they said, well, when you have that, we would love, to come back and take a position and do that because we love the ecosystem, but we're not politically prepared to announce that we're holding and doing something with a cryptocurrency. So that's just an example of, where you need something, and proxy keys can do that. So that's unfinished business on Shelley. And then obviously there's a lot of things we got to do on Goguen now. We're just in the beginning there, but a lot is going to happen next year and this year as we close it out. It's pretty remarkable to see how fast and how much parallelism in development has occurred, because now we can work with independent teams. And I think we're up to 15 development companies. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ramon, but I think that's where we're at, who are doing infrastructural work in some capacity.
Wow.
We are growing, that's for sure. IO is growing, and partners also. We we aggregated many service providers this year. So, but I think the next step is to actually get some contribution from the ecosystem itself, and really, I'm looking forward for the next year where we'll have a more decentralized, development ecosystem. We just launched the Plutus, pioneer program, and really looking forward for getting some feedback from the community and some help also in terms of development on the code base.
All right. Well, I got to get going, everybody. I got to get to dinner. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you, Charles.
All right,
See you
Charles.
again, buddy.
Cheers.
Charles.
All right.
Don't cross the Congratulations.
Yeah.
Hey,
Don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams.
Yes, don't cross the streams.
And Roman, thank you as well for being
Very
here.
bad.
Great to have you dial in. And just so everybody knows, as far as the Cardano development, I counted every single individual name on the IOHK Research Library website, and there are 168 researchers. They're not all IOHK, but they may have either been funded or employed or had a grant from IOHK, but they're from Well Typed, they're from Twig. Sebastian may know more of the organizations. They're IOG researchers, they're University of Athens, University of Edinburgh, University of Tokyo. And 168 plus people, not including folks like Sava Savic and Kevin Hammond and all those bubbas, who put the work into this research, okay? So this isn't, some guy did this research on PowerPoint in the middle of the night drinking a Mountain Dew, okay? That's not the kind of research. This is extremely thorough, in-depth research that's been going on for over 5 years. And
What did you list
that's
those
extremely
names?
valuable. What's that?
How did you build that list of names? I was wondering when I saw that. Did you take every papers and list author?
I just went through every paper and I typed every name.
Wow, that's some work. And you know what? We have many other PhDs or researchers that aren't in these papers, and so it's already a big number, but there are more than that. The ones who
Damn, Rick, you went through every paper and typed every name.
I went through every single paper and I typed every single name. 168 names.
Classic
Rick,
Rick.
I do have a
I may not be
disagreement
smart,
with you
but
there.
I'm freaking diligent. God damn it.
I have a little
That's
disagreement with you there, Rick.
man. Yeah.
Nice work, Rick.
Rick, I have to say, I have a PhD and I've done research, and I really do think that there is a lot of people doing real research in the middle of the night, drinking Mountain Dew and typing on a PowerPoint. That is real research at times. So.
Oh no, I know what you mean. I know that's real research. This isn't like the kind of stuff you see on TV. I know what you mean. So yeah, the folks that real research. If you're a PhD or you're a PhD student, you're doing it in the middle of the night. I was just giving you a reference. It wasn't like
PhD means piled high and deep.
So the Ethereum 2.0 roadmap was written in Microsoft. Oh, I used to use it. It's like Microsoft Visio, and and I'm looking at this Microsoft Visio 2.0 roadmap, and it says we're going to deploy. Ethereum 2.0. Here's when we deploy mainnet. It was way up here on the chart, but the research was down here. So you're deploying it before you do the advanced research. I'm like, come on, guys. I mean, if someone would have peer reviewed that, they probably said, hey, we already did some research. I'm just saying.
I think the proper term there is heuristics.
Is what?
Heuristics. If you remember, Vitalik was interviewed by what's his name? Lex Fridman, and he said, well, our approach is actually finding out problems after we build stuff and then writing about it.
He says it's better. Yeah, that's true.
Sebastian, I think we have to write a paper because we aren't in that list. It's a shame.
Yeah, well, in the NEPA paper, I'm listed as a special thanks. So
okay.
There you go.
Are you on the list then?
No, I'm not on the list. I'm not an author. I'm just credited as a reviewer of the paper.
Rick's list.
I got to add that in there. I did not go down to the reviewer section and get the names out of there. My bad.
Yeah, and then Nico and Robert Kornacki are on there also through the stablecoin
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So you have some work to extend the list. It's not accurate.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking with a few different potential research partners. The difficulty is that, people have seen the success of Cardano and people want to replicate it. So there's a lot of people looking for researchers right now. So trying to find, something that's targeted for specifically what we're trying to accomplish as a company is not easy, because that's the only way we can kind of justify the cost.
When you say replicate it, do you mean making a competing Cardano by copying the code?
No, as in doing like a research first project instead of building and figuring it out later.
Gotcha. I'm transfixed by Luigi. I only noticed that later into Romaine's screen. I love that game.
Yeah, it's an amazing game. I mean, did you guys play it?
My son plays it. He's 4.
I'm a grown man who plays it, and I'm not.
Someone asked that in the chat earlier, Romain. Are you actually playing that game right now, and it's your background?
Exactly. No, I'm not.
Live stream.
As I said, I'm not multitasking much.
Well, there's the names.
Oh my lord! Here's the wall of fame.
Rick is no joke.
He did that on Taco Tuesday.
Right?
I think he did that on PowerPoint in the middle of the night.
Warm pop helped.
While drinking Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Mountain Dew.
Right. Piled high and deep in Mountain Dew.
Thank you for that. It's a lot of work.
Okay.
Another contribution, right?
Powered off
much work as
Ethereum
those
tears.
papers. There's 116 papers, and I'll figure out what the average page thickness is. But the first time Philippe had printed it, there was about 30 papers, and by the time he got done printing them, we got to 42 papers, and it was that thick. So that was at 42. Now there's 116. It's like an encyclopedia or something. It's like the most extensive library of cryptographic research on planet Earth.
Do you think it's bigger than any other project, Algorand, all the others?
It's got to be. I don't know.
Cardano is in general.
I've been getting a lot of Algorand people in my feed, so.
I don't do these dick measuring contests with other people, but actually I kind of do. But I haven't measured my stack of white papers.
We've been over this. Just the tip.
Waking up with 12-foot boners.
Great. I need to thank you because I think IO is not seen as a. It's not really well known for its contribution. Like, I was in a call with someone from Fujitsu at Hyperledger like 10 months ago, and he was knowing Ageloskias, right? And Ageloskias from the University of Edinburgh, right? Yeah, but he's also our chief scientist, right? At IO. And it's incredible. We are provider. How many repos do we have? Like more than 300 X. I don't remember how many papers. Like all of this is free, open source, no patents, right? So IO should communicate, and if you guys can help us relay that information, that would be great.
The caliber
what
of
I
people
do is,
working,
sometimes
407 repositories.
107 repositories.
No.
407.
407.
400. Yeah. Okay.
Right. A lot of projects are just happy that they have 1 or 2 scientists. We've got, how many? 160 something. I mean, that's ridiculous.
12 universities and counting. We are building labs in universities pretty much every other month. So it's growing fast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you would expect from a platform with this kind of ambitions,
enterprise level. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's beyond
actually
enterprise. Enterprises
beyond
are basically stuff that will exist on Cardano eventually.
It's language, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, let's look. Romain, you might want to have an opinion about that, but I think blockchain enterprise is just nonsense. It's like, why would you have that? I just don't get that, really.
So it's a process, I would say. Like the internet, right? You started with intranets. I keep repeating that, but we all started connecting private networks, and then extranets connecting the private networks, right? And then the internet by the aggregation of extranets, and I think blockchain is in the same vibe, right? Private networks are like permission chains, etc., and then you want to interconnect them around public networks, and then you have this interoperability between blockchains, public blockchains, and then you have that layer of trust on top of the internet that we all need. But it's a process, right? And when something is new, usually people want to like protect themselves and their business, which is logical, right? If I'm a company, I want to protect my business, my customers, etc. And then I open up slowly.
Yeah. So I understand the application of blockchain when let's say that a bunch of companies in the same sector want to share data, which is very rare, right? Like I used to work in shipping. Nobody wanted to open their books or give what their processes to their competitors because it's a cutthroat business and whatnot. So so when they talk about blockchain and application of blockchain in enterprise, I usually kind of laugh because the architecture of blockchain actually presumes that you don't trust anybody except for the cryptographic proofs that you get on your nodes, and that's basically it's antithetical. It goes against whatever the architectural way that the companies operate. So it's just basically a completely different architecture. So merging them together, it just doesn't make sense.
You can use like zero knowledge proofs to, let's say like a company could have audit information available without giving the details. There's some things that could be linked up on the enterprise where you can provide proof of something, like proof that they haven't incurred more than a certain amount of liabilities, and then the bank might monitor that to the whole good on their loan.
Yeah, you're right. An analogy that I use with the enterprise is, for example, if you take the supply chain. So imagine you are a producer of something. You have your internal processes, right, with your close partners, etc. You want your own permission network here. Why? Because no one else cares, right? As a consumer, I don't need to know what happened, in the factory, inside the factory. So, and then you need some sort of consortium network when it comes to actually exchanging data or history with the people who are working in your industry, right? And then you need public networks to touch the mainstream users, right? So it makes sense to have different technologies for different purposes. I don't think there will be one blockchain to rule them all. There will be an aggregate of blockchains, and some will be more or less permission because they serve a really particular, vertical in a particular step in the process. I don't think that's a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's another thing that kind of strikes me all the time. I don't know if you ever read your credit card statements, right? You never know who the hell was the guy who actually charged you. And I ask these questions, to these banks, and I say, why don't you just write, this guy was Amazon and this was the product, right? And they, after a really long conversation with somebody who was inside the banking, he said, look, these payment processors or the banks do not want to know who their clients are. That's why they kind of have these cryptic messages in your, credit card statements, which is the reason why the game theoretical sort of, things in these networks basically ask them to basically they push the players to keep the information to themselves, which is very against what the blockchain does, because everything's on the blockchain. At least on a wallet level, who's spending what, when, where.
Zero knowledge profile.
Okay, so like,
sure.
Yeah,
if you add stuff in and you give customers kind of a mechanism to interact, like let's say take PubSub for example, right? So now the pool has the ability to message and relay messaging. Now you have legislation comes in that mandates the pool within a certain jurisdiction issue certain messaging to their customers. You see what I'm saying? Like every introduction has a consequence.
I got a dumb question. Ergo has a blender on it. Ergo blockchain. It has Ergo blender for privacy, and it's an EUTXO blockchain. Cardano, E, UTXO as well. So, I mean, can they talk to each other? Because I think Ergo is going to be spinning up something soon. I can't quote on what it is, but I mean, wouldn't you be able to send a value cross chain, run it to the blender, send it back? I don't know. Would that work?
Yeah, like people do this for Bitcoin as well, right? There's tools for Bitcoins to also try and obfuscate the source of transactions. The problems with these tools is that usually, if you use these tools, you get blacklisted for using these tools, right? So if the exchange looks at the history of your coins, and they went through the blender like 2 transactions ago, they may not be willing to accept it, or may send you additional questions. So it doesn't really solve much of a problem.
But on the Ergo Cardano collaboration, there will be a collaboration. I invite you to go to the summit later this month. There will be a great announcement on this. But yeah, the idea is, I think the UTXO model helps UTXO-based blockchains to transfer cryptographic proof of assets, or and we are going to look at that with closely with Ergo. You'll see at the summit.
Yeah, I think it's important because I was doing some testing with someone who I trust, and we were going back and forth, and I accidentally sent him some ADA from my big wallet that's on, and then he said, "Oh," it's like, "Oh, but damn it!" I said, "Sorry, I sent that from the wrong wallet." It was my NFT wallet where I was buying and selling and trading NFTs. Well, no, I wasn't. I was just buying NFTs. I wasn't trading and selling them yet. I was just buying the NFTs at that time, and I realized
you hadn't gotten into the money laundering yet.
I hadn't gotten into money laundering yet.
Hey, I'm stoked. My stake pool it's got its first block on Alonzo. So.
Yay!
Congrats!
Yeah,
I did as well.
Yeah, you did as well. Who else got blocks? Did Vroom get blocks?
Yep, Vroom got a block.
Nice.
I've got
very
16 hours to go.
All right, cool.
I have a question coming back to something. The conversation moved so quickly about the labs. I was wondering, I was having a conversation with James actually from Cardano Mint earlier today. It may have been today. Time is a little lost on me at the moment, but we're talking about this beautiful sustainability that's built into Cardano, all the forethought that has gone into, the treasury piece, and then as well as this investment in training the future programmers of the ecosystems through these partnerships with universities and labs. Is there an up-to-date list of those somewhere that you might direct our audience who's watching, or myself to?
You mean like Lars's Plutus videos?
University collaborations. That's a request for Team Harrison. We need to get that list. Even for myself, sometimes it's hard to track how many researchers are involved with us. We recently built, I think, a lab for zero knowledge proofs, and do some research on this area. So yes, definitely something to ask the team and Ben.
Be awesome to be able to share that. It's just such an amazing thing about Cardano and the way IOHK and everybody.
One of the objectives of Charles is to create labs, research labs, but also innovation labs. So we might see in the future months new labs for looking at how we can innovate and on different verticals, and the geography of things is important. The location, where is this lab located, or those labs located, is important, because you are going to solve local issues, right? We need to have people who are actually looking at a particular region of the world and think about how blockchain technologies can solve issues on different verticals, and the geography is important. The location, where is I guess that was me talking.
You sounded good. It was great.
No. It sounds horrible. Like, let me jump up now.
No, it actually sounds good here. I think what happened is one came up with the iPad audio, so he's turning it down now, and it's just feeding back through his speaker as well. So it's from the computer back to the iPad. Well, I tell you what, guys, it is late. I do have to get up early in the morning. I have a recording with some people tomorrow morning, and that's going to be kind of cool. So I got to get up early myself as well.
People.
Yeah, with IOGs, I'm going to be not a moderator. What's it called, Sebastian?
Facilitator?
Commentator?
No, moderator.
Moderator. You're moderating a panel for the.
Yeah, moderating a panel for the IOG wallet related thing. Are you gonna be there, Sebastian? For the recording?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's late, man. You better get some sleep. No, wait, it's early there. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. It's 9:30 in the morning, and you're planet. All right.
Yeah.
So it'll be late at night for you tomorrow morning. So let's call it a day, gentlemen. What do you say? We'll wrap it up. And Juan, I hope you get a chance to dial in next time. We'll get you in on the live stream the next time around. There's gonna be a lot more of them. So much more to do. We got Basho, Hydra, components. We're gonna have multiple major hard fork events, parties, different names. Then we're gonna have Voltaire and more components there. This is gonna go on forever. It's gonna be massive, massive, guys. And guess what? Guess what we're doing? We're going for number one. That's right.
Yeah.
Going for number one, baby. All day, every day, going for number one. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Great meeting some of you folks. And I thank you for, thanks to all the viewers for being here and all your great questions. I hope everyone enjoyed the live stream. And Alonzo's here. We did it. Check out Cardano Scan. Check out the Block Explorers. Learn about smart contracts. Check out Lars's videos on Plutus. Check out Professor Simon Thompson videos. Simon Thompson, check out his YouTube channel. He has Marlowe videos to show you how to use Blockly. Okay, Blockly is pretty easy. You put blocks together on a little spreadsheet-like thing, and you dial in some numbers, and it creates smart contracts. So Plutus and Marlowe up and running. We did it, guys. We did it. Ladies, gents, number one, all day, every day.